Government go pills will ever make it to the public? I mean, I think coffee makes people crazy enough in the mornings. I'm all set personally. I'm on like coffee number 4. I'm jazzed up right now. Number 9, the heart attack gun. Sounds like a pretty calm weapon right there. The CIA had this weapon and it was more of a dart gun than anything, but you know, heart attack gun sounds pretty on the nose for this list. It shot a frozen dart filled with a specific toxin that, you guessed it, gave you a heart attack. Pretty James Bond, right? It was frozen so that the dart would ideally melt away after it's done its damage. You know, destroying all the evidence, right? It's like some icicle killer stuff right there. That's some next level. There we go. It took me 17 seconds to remember what an icicle is called. I was like, what are those long drippy frozen things? The icicles. The CIA was really into poisons during the Cold War and apparently darts. Match made in heaven. The public caught wind of all this thanks to Senator Frank Church, and when Congress decided to look into where these tax dollars were going, they found a plethora of illegal methods used by not only the CIA, but also the NSA and the FBI and the IRS. A lot of letters coming in, a lot of sketchy letters. Frozen darts, that's insane. That's a confusing way to go out. You'd have no idea what happened. You'd be like, ugh, brr, ow. Like, it'd be that fast. That's crazy. Number 8. Project Iceworm. Ooh, speaking of cold, here we go. Back in the 1960s, under the Greenland ice sheet, the US Army started to build a mobile nuclear missile launch site, okay? It was codenamed Project Iceworm. It's a pretty fun name because it's cold and underground. We get it, right? Nice. The idea was that they would build the station close enough so that they could hit targets within the Soviet Union, all secretly, right? That was the whole idea. This project was called Project Iceworm, but there was another project called Camp Century that had to be done first. This is the top secret, sketchy stuff. Can't just hit the road with a few shovels, you gotta make sure it's livable first. Camp Century was a network of underground tunnels and places for workers to hang out, like a kitchen, a hall, supply rooms, communication center, all stuff like that. It was a supply camp. You know, whatever you imagine, it was that. There was also a nuclear power plant. That's the most important part, to keep everything active, right? This was kept from the Danish government for 7 years. A secret nuclear power plant for 7 years. Yeah, we don't like those. But in 1966, the project was canceled because of shifting ice. Or at least that's what they say. No, it's definitely shifting ice. The whole place is melted by now. Number 7, leaked voters. Back in December 2015, personal information from 191 million voters was leaked to the public online. It happened very fast. This feels like yesterday. I remember this happening online. I was actually quite worried about it. Researcher Chris Vickery found this data while conducting a security investigation. See, Forbes had described Vickery as, well, dare I say, a good hacker, for lack of a better word. They're called white hat hackers. They find weak spots in security without sabotaging or exploiting them. You know, they're not villains. They're just like, oh, check this file, gotcha. They're nice, that's key. We need that. That's the difference. 79% of those eligible to vote were the victims in this leak. All their names, addresses, birth date, phone numbers, emails, even photos, you name it. Things you don't want people knowing, let alone third parties online. It's now out there. We're still unsure who was behind this entire leak, so that's comforting to go to sleep to, knowing. CSO Online and databreaches.net suggest that the information more than likely came from a software provider called Nation Builder. But CEO Jim Gilliam announced that that was not the case and they did not create the database. He said, nope, false. Although he conceded that it is still possible that some of the information that it contains may have come from data that they make available for free to campaigns. So a third party took what they could and really ran with it. It wasn't them, it was just their weak security. Nice, we love that. Just my photo, just in someone's Google Doc. I'm like, awesome. I don't want anything out there. I don't want my Google search history out there. That sounds suspicious. Number 6, the Space Cube. In honor of Jordan Peele's new space movie coming out called Nope, we have to include some alien cover-ups in this government list. Not too long ago, this spinning cube-looking drone, hopefully drone, was spotted over Missouri, and then only a couple hours later it was seen again 700 miles away. That's a pretty far distance. That's a fast travel time. What's your secret? 44-year-old Matthew Jandeka was minding his own business, hanging out on the porch, when this caught his attention. It was a sunny day, so the light reflected off the cube and it caught his eye. But then a day later, another guy, 30-year-old Justin Johnston, he saw the same exact thing in the sky. He saw it while he was driving home. The light and the reflection, same thing, caught his eye. At first I thought maybe it was a balloon, but the movements were odd, he said. Well, it sounds like whatever this thing is, military aircraft, drone, whatever the case, it's pretty fast. Maybe they're filming Top Gun 3, who knows? No spoilers. Number 5, Surtsey Island. Some islands are forbidden, like Heard Island. They're home to animals and wildlife that the government refuses to let humans be part of, which is sketchy in its own way. A lot of Jurassic Park vibes over there. But when it comes to Surtsey Island near Iceland, again, always Iceland, hiding secret government projects, well, Surtsey Island is a brand new island. We love it. Literally, this island formed from a volcanic eruption back in 1963, so scientists are using this fresh face of Earth to study what it looks like to not have humans in the picture for a change. Yeah, we have seed vaults, a forbidden island. These projects make people uneasy, hence why the government tries to keep them low-key. That is until I come out and then loudly announce it, and then tell you to hit that like button. Awesome. Number 4, WikiLeaks war log. Companies have to live somewhere, right? We're a film studio in Toronto, we're a place. We're not just a bunker, right? We're like an establishment. There's windows, we have a fridge, lots of coffee. We're okay. But where do places like WikiLeaks work? It's probably a sketchy establishment. It's probably nothing like Google, you know what I'm saying? Not a lot of beanbag chairs going on at WikiLeaks. Probably just one chair that everyone shares. Just one guy. It's literally just one guy. Today, it's a facility owned by Swedish internet provider. This is where they keep servers for WikiLeaks. Julian Assange was the front runner for this whole operation, so literally, like I said, it was one guy. His hard drive is stored in this bunker behind a 2-foot steel door, accompanied by numerous backup generators. So
I don't think Aaron learns a fucking
actually published Army field
rock
reports from
movement
2004. It's now one of the biggest leaks in U.S. history. This report confirmed that there were over
the
66,000 civilian deaths
type.
in the Iraqi war logs out of the 109,000 in total. This leak also suggested that some American troops were classifying civilians as enemies in their statistics. Yeah, which is not great. That's a borderline. That's a big leak. These numbers were from
Alright, that's what I'm talking about.
That's hard stuff. Number 3. Military weapons. Getting into the alien stuff. Here we go. Psycho-electronic weapons. Yeah, apparently we're in a DC comic now. We have ice darts, ice rays. What's going on here? The first time Curtis Waltman heard of these military psycho-electronic weapons was when he received documents via Yahoo. Of all the places to get documents, you're like, oh, this is 10 years old. Originally, he had filed the Freedom of Information Act request to Washington State Fusion Center. He was trying to find out more on the clashes between Antifa and the far right. But instead, he got a response, and it was all about experimental weapons. He's like, this is not what I asked for. What is this? Open. The guy gets a zip file back in return, and it's called EM Effects on Human Body. How do you not open that, right? And that's exactly what he did. He opened this file because, of course, and in it he saw diagrams on these weapons and the effects that they have on people. Muscle quaking, body pain, just shivering, just your body shuts down. It's horrible. One of the effects allowed users to control their dreams, so it's not all bad. It's just kind of not right, unethical. This was clearly sent by mistake. Nobody should ever use these weapons, these super dream weapons. I don't know what's going on there. The only emails I get, those ones are not a mistake. Those ones
still not rock type move.
Number 2, inner armor.
I don't even think Geo do dangerous rock type moves anytime soon either.
At some point, okay? I'm always late. I would love super speed any day. That'd be great. Well, Darkness Inner Armor project almost made a dream come true.
That poison would go good against them, but that bug type is gonna go. Fucking my win.
Working on this. Scientists use animals as a reference for these new abilities, literally like from a Marvel movie. They're studying the DNA of the stellar sea lion because it can reduce blood flow away from organs if need be, in order to reduce oxygen demand. So now we're studying that to try and make, I don't know, people like Atlanteans? Where are we going here? That'd be sweet. Just Aquaman with a tactical vest and a spear. Okay, that's sure. Dr. Michael Callahan, who is in charge of running the operation, he says the goal was to make soldiers kill-proof against disease, chemical weapons, radioactive weapons, harsh weather conditions, you name it, all that good stuff. Pretty much invincible. Now, this was back in 2007, and of course, in 2014, Barack Obama announced that the United States was still building Iron Man. So maybe they're close. Maybe they haven't done it yet. Who knows? Honestly, I'm seeing videos every day of like these guys on hoverboards whipping down New York. We're so close to the Green Goblin in real life. Or like the water pier guy, he like uses the water to float. That's like 2 villains. It's 2 villains right there in real life. And finally, number 1, MK Ultra. We have to finish with a mind control project. It's the only way, of course. MK Ultra was a secret CIA project that lasted from 1953 to 1973. It's a long time. They ran hundreds of experiments to US citizens. They gave them illicit substances and other narcotics, just horrible stuff, all in attempts to crack mind control, or as they call it, information gathering. Mind control. It's definitely mind control. In the 50s and 60s, around the Cold War, the United States believed that the Soviets, Chinese, and/or North Korean agents were all using mind control in the war. I mean, how else could you explain brainwashed prisoners of war in Korea, right? Nothing to do with what they're doing to them. Sure. The program had subjects take LSD, hallucinogens,
Are you fucking serious? Yeah, you did it. You didn't see the like it jumped up. You see, it says it right there on the screen. One side. You're the first.
Even prisons, right? You have no idea this stuff's happening.
On the first.
Weren't fully known to the public until years after it ended. But the agency
As
destroyed
always.
MK documents back in 1973
I'm
when
gone.
was blown. So we think we know, but in reality, we only know little to what happened during MK Ultra. Kicking off our list at number 10. Late night dip. Alright, it wouldn't be a Taylor McWaters list if we didn't mention aliens more than once. This video was leaked last year in May. The footage is actually from 2019. It was recorded in San Diego. The Pentagon has since confirmed its authenticity. The UAP, the unidentified aerial phenomenon here, we don't say UFOs anymore, that's so old school. The UAP is sphere-shaped and it's flying at extremely high speeds. No exhaust, no propulsion system, just a metal ball whipping by San Diego. The sphere then vanished into the water afterwards. So in case you're wondering, no, it didn't land, no aliens got out. They're like, hey, how fast was I going? No.
Yes, yes, you did it right.
Number 9, Talos.
Basically, I'm here to announce that we're building Iron Man.
Tactical Assault Light Operator Suit, aka Talos. It was once a project announced back in 2014.
Okay.
And like the former president said, this was supposed to be a modern day Iron Man suit of armor. Didn't end up being like that at all. It was supposed to change warfare entirely, but 5 years later, the project was scrapped. Or was it? It probably wasn't. Of course not. We're still working on Apple Watches. You're telling me they're gonna scrap this? Good joke. On one hand, obviously it's hard to do. We could barely launch Google Maps in one go, let alone a suit of armor. I imagine it's complicated. Sure. But with recent leaks, we can now take a peek at what could have been. See, ideally, the suit would have given the user advanced tactical awareness alongside advanced military-grade armor, which has an exoskeleton underneath that's wired to the helmet and the rest of the suit. You're pretty much Iron Man. They figured out a few things while creating the suit, but overall, this Iron Man armor wasn't close to being like what we're seeing on the big screen. We're getting pretty close. We're getting alarmingly close, I'd say. Number 8, the Kola Well. If you dug a hole through the center of the earth and jumped in, would you come out the other side? Of course not. This isn't a cartoon. But the Arctic Circle back in the 70s sure did look like a cartoon. The deepest hole on the planet. Yeah, let's gather resources and focus on this for a bit. Sure, during the Cold War. We love it. Scientists began working on the project in 1970. For many years, Russian scientists in winter coats were drilling a hole, just down as deep as they could get. What a great job that would be, eh? They got 1/3 through the Baltic continental crust and they found rocks older than 2 billion years. It was quite the project. It was exciting. But eventually they hit this muddy lava, and then in 1992, they stopped drilling. A huge concern here was that demons would be released from the earth. That's fair. That's more than fair. That's an okay concern. We don't want those around, I get it. The previous title for the deepest hole belonged to the United States Bertha Rogers Hole, which reached 31,000 feet. The borehole still remains the deepest artificial point on Earth. Now, it was odd for the United States to focus on beating the Russians to the deepest point on Earth. We talk about the space race often, but we forget about this one, the deep hole race. Stanley Yelnats would be so disappointed in us. We gotta talk about this more. Number 7, radar footage. Now, normally when we see leaked footage, be it of UAPs or leaked documents, it's always the worst quality, right? It's always taken with like a BlackBerry curve. It's hard to believe when military footage is horrible quality. Like, we're trying, help us help you. Like, how can we see photos of black holes and not have a photo of a UAP yet, right? Or do we? Well, Jeremy Corbell is here to help. He took to Twitter in May 2021 sharing footage of US Navy ships being swarmed by UAPs. This time we have radar footage from inside the ship. It came from the Combat Information Center in the USS Omaha. This 46-second clip was originally recorded on July 15th, 2019, and you could even hear a dude in the background yell about how fast the objects in the radar are moving. That's how you know it's authentic. It's a guy like, whoa, that's crazy. On that ship too, imagine what he's seen and he's surprised. I'm shook. Number 6, the Amityville photo. A little ghost stuff for us, why not? This photo was taken inside the Amityville house back in 1976. You see, it's the boy with the eyes. Nice, you got it. Nice, good eye. At first, I thought this was from a horror movie. It looks fake almost, or set up, until you start to read the details. See, this photo was taken with automatic cameras equipped with infrared. So this ghost here probably wasn't expecting a selfie, right? Photographer Gene Campbell took this photo in 1976. Gene was working with paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren on this case. Yeah, this was long before the movies. They were just really working on this case in real life. This is history. This is so scary. The photo was revealed 3 years after it was taken on the Merv Griffin show, and many believe this is the ghost of John DeFeo, one of the boys who lived there in 1974. Now, you can't really do this anymore, right? You can't just whip out photos from an otherwise, crime scene and be like, okay, gang, is this a ghost? Let's take a look. No, there was obvious backlash for obvious reasons. It took 3 years for that photo to reach the public eye, and now all of a sudden everybody is talking about ghosts. Did this help? Probably not. Again, this was long before The Conjuring was ever released in theaters or anything like that. This would have been so random to see on TV. How frightening. Also, who believes in ghosts here? What's the ratio? Comment down below. I'm genuinely curious. I'm like 50-50 in the ghost game. Number 5, quantum computer. This next one is pretty scary. Not a fan of this one. Computers are getting more and more advanced by the day. Andrew Garfield told everybody that Spider-Man leak was fake, and we're all like, okay, we'll believe it. Yeah, we believed it. That's how good technology is. It's getting dangerous. Poor Andrew Garfield, but also poor us. We're for sure doomed any day now. But thanks to our man Snowden, Edward Snowden, it was reported in the Washington Post back in January 2nd, 2014, that the NSA is secretly working hard at creating their own computer. It's called the quantum computer, and it cost around $80 million to build. It's a little more expensive than the new iPad. Just a touch. This computer is safely stored in a massive room-sized metal box, not intimidating at all, and it's part of a program called Penetrating Hard Targets. So it can break encryptions for just about anyone, anything, finance records, medical records, your old MSN, hopefully not, but maybe. What a nightmare that would be. The NSA is well on their way to breaking every form of public encryption, so we're doomed. This quantum computer can theoretically break through any RSA encryption as well, which for the average computer today, that takes years. The supercomputer can break through a lot faster. So yeah, you better clear that history now while you still can, or else everyone's gonna see. Number 4, more government leaks. Even allies of the United States weren't safe during Edward's leak. Thanks to Snowden, at the end of October 2013, it was leaked that the United States was spying on Germany, France, and Spain, all at the same time. Horrible. The NSA tapped into 35 phones spying on 35 different world leaders, one of which was German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who called out the NSA publicly immediately after finding out and said this act of snooping was just unacceptable between friends. That hits deep, eh? I thought we were friends? We're pulling that card out? Ooh. World leader or not, nobody was safe during these phone calls. It was also reported that the NSA was monitoring calls in Spain for the average folk. Yeah, they monitored around 60 million calls in 1 month. Imagine how boring that job would be. Just some dude listening like. Number 3, North Sentinel Island. Heading over to India, this island is home of the Sentinelese tribe, one of the most forbidden islands on the planet. We don't talk about this island nearly enough. It's fascinating, and it's also equally terrifying. It's located in the Bay of Bengal. North Sentinel Island is about 1,200 kilometers away from India, and while most islands are shrinking or just disappearing, this one actually grew back in 2004. Yeah, the island lifted up a couple of meters during an earthquake, so the west and south sides gained an extra kilometer. Yeah, more room for more inhabitants. Let's talk about them. The inhabitants on this floating cursed island are among the few uncontacted tribes left in the world. They've apparently been there for 50,000 years, and there's no signs of agriculture or even fire, yet somehow this tribe has thrived for this long. And if we try and get close and, talk to them or see what's up, they try and drive everybody away violently. In fact, back in 2006, 2 fishermen lost their lives because they were too close to the island without knowing who was on it. The Indian government also didn't roll up to the beach after and start interrogating locals. Instead, they made the island now officially forbidden to enter, so stay away. Number 2, the mouse with an ear on its back. Oh, what a transition. Awesome. We love segues. Back in 1997, Stuart Little here became the test subject to determine if scientists could grow cartilage using chondrocytes, aka cells from a cow. And it worked. And now we're still talking about it today, obviously. It all started when Joseph Vicanti, pediatric surgeon, began designing human organs. This was during a shortage. He wasn't just, bored and started to make ears. He was changing the medical game. And little did he know, he was actually about to change the science game as well. He constructed an ear and then told his brother Chuck and his partner Bob to not bring up the fact that he attached said ear to a live mouse. He's like, please don't mention the mouse, please. How can you not? Here, check out this new ear I made. Hey, one sec, let me catch it. What? What? It's disgusting. What's going on here? What's this science lab you have? So Chuck spilled the beans. He didn't keep said information to himself. Can you blame him? No. But good thing he leaked the information because now we know cow cartilage can create cells. All because he spilled the beans. Nice. Thanks, Joseph, but also thanks to that mouse that totally didn't volunteer for this life. Can I Q-tip his back? I want to Q-tip his back. Let's clean that little ear for him, you know? I bet that would feel great. It's like a back scratch, but an ear Q-tip at the same time. Imagine those mixed. Stuart Little, he's got it. And finally, number 1, motorized roller skates. This last one, they've been working on for quite a long time. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen working on this channel, so yeah, I had to end off this list with this. Motorized roller skates. What a dream. Is it happening? Are we close? I sure hope not. This photo was taken at the Seneca station in Hartford, Connecticut. Context aside, this is an odd one. It's a guy with a briefcase filling up at a gas station, and he's wearing roller skates. Is this 2077? No, it's actually 1956. And that futuristic looking man right there, that's Mike Dreschler. He was working for a Detroit skate company, and he was very dangerously close to gas-powered roller skates. It sounds like something from a cartoon where he's like, oh, I'll get you, pew, and then he blasts off. This would never, don't try this. This is a horrible idea. They would have cost around $250, which today is around $2,400, and its max speed was 17 miles an hour, so you'd still be late, and you'd still be buying gas. It was a lose-lose. Imagine this in the closing act of a Mission Impossible movie. How boring would that be? Now, obviously, the public wasn't supposed to see this. They feared that it would encourage folks to get creative on their own. So yeah, I'll reinforce that. Don't make rocket skates with gasoline. Thanks. Hit that thumbs up and don't make rocket skates. We love it. Don't eat Tide Pods or make your own jet boots. Taylor McWaters, there's a quote for you. There we go.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the reenactment. This photo is extremely unsettling and for a very good reason. If, when you look at this photo, your instincts tell you that the guy in them is creepy, ding ding ding, you're right. This is a photo that features the German serial killer Joachim Kroll. He is known for taking the lives of 14 people, all varying in age, and he is known for also consuming parts of their flesh. This monster was caught in 1976, and he was discovered when police found out that he had clogged the plumbing in his apartment with remains of one of his victims. How gruesome is that? This photo was taken shortly after he was caught and arrested, and what you're seeing is Kroll reenacting one of his crimes for the police. I get goosebumps just thinking about that. I couldn't imagine being there, or being the police officer he's on top of. Talk about terrifying. I'm just glad that they caught him.
Did you know that most reviews for health and wellness products may not even be real? Not on iHerb. We verify that every review on our app was made by a real actual person.
I'm Gil, and I'm a real actual person.
Download iHerb wherever you get your apps.
And got him off of the street. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Pioneer's Defense. This photo is known as the Pioneer's Defense, and man, does it ever look creepy. This photo comes from 1937, and it was taken by a Russian photographer named Viktor Bulla. This photo takes place in the Leningrad area, which is now known as St. Petersburg, which is the second largest city in Russia. The people in this photo were part of a group that was the 1930s Russian equivalent of our Boy Scouts that was called the Young Pioneers. The masks on their faces leaves a very eerie feeling, and for a fair reason. These people were doing a military preparation drill, which is the reason for the gas masks. This photo was taken during a time when the country was under the dictatorship of Joseph Stalin, and the residents were constantly unsure of what was going to happen. The country was already seeing death, and people were already frightened just a few years before the start of World War II, and those in this photo felt the need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. In our number 8 spot today, we have the net test. This photo comes to us from 1958, and it is quite an interesting one. At a first glance, it looks fun, but then when you catch the expression on the person's face and look a little more into it, it really just leaves you with a ton of questions as to what exactly is going on here. It looks like a guy is going on some sort of a roller coaster ride, but what is actually happening is that a prisoner is being used to test safety nets before they were mass produced. Yeah, not the good time we thought it was. This comes from a time where capital punishment was much more widespread throughout the United States, and those waiting on death row couldn't just sit around waiting for their day to come. I think it's probably best that we made the switch to crash test dummies and that sort of thing, and this photo just remains as an eerie reminder of the less than great choices that were made in the past. In our number 7 spot today, we have a burst of joy. You might be looking at this photo wondering how this extremely joyous photo could hold any dark secrets. Well, this photo won a Pulitzer Prize, and for a good reason. This photo was captured by Slava Vetter on March 17, 1973 at the Travis Air Force Base in California. This photo shows United States Air Force Lieutenant Robert L. Sturm and his family. This was taken as he was being reunited with his family after 5 years of being held as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. On October 27, 1967, he was leading a flight of F-105s when he was shot down over Hanoi and held captive until March 14, 1973. I can't imagine what this must have been like for his family, because there was a huge chance that he could have not come home at all. The looks on their faces, of course, clearly show that this photo is capturing an exceptionally joyful moment. It's just the story behind this moment that leaves us all with that unsettling feeling. In our number 6 spot today, we have Ghost Boy. This photo is said to have been taken inside of the infamous Amityville Horror House in 1976. It is said that this creepy vintage photo is still one of the most chilling paranormal photos of all time. Yep, that's right, this photo is said to be of a ghost. After the DeFeo killing, the next owner of the house, George Lutz, swore that the house was haunted, and he called in none other than Ed and Lorraine Warren, the most famous paranormal investigators ever. On one night of the investigations, they set up an automatic camera on the second floor of the house, and this photo is said to have been caught then. Some believe that the ghostly face staring back is that of a young John Defoe who lost his life in this house. I'm not 100% sure either way, but what I am sure of is that if this is actually a photo of a ghost and not a real person, that is ridiculously creepy. In our number 5 spot today, we have a UFO report. This is less of a photo and is actually more like a PDF, but I still felt like it applied to today's list. This is a previously classified document from 1963. Although the document still has a ton of information that has been blacked out, the document is the description and report of an unidentified flying object, or a UFO encounter. This is said to have taken place over the desert of Nevada, and the report was written in detail in order to have a written record of the event. This document is said to have been the authentic report from the FBI, which is exactly why some of the details have still been omitted. This might seem like less of a big deal now, as in this day and age we have declassified video footage of similar kinds of encounters, but for 1963 this was huge. As discussions of alien or extraterrestrial life is a big part of our modern day society, this document shows that these things have been on our minds for many, many years now. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Apollo 1 prayer. This photo was originally taken and meant to be a sort of lighthearted prank or joke, but it would later turn out to be a chilling image. This photo shows the Apollo 1 crew jokingly praying over a miniature model of their command module. The 3 men in the photo are Roger Chaffee, Virgil Grissom, and Ed White, and sadly, during a test launch on January 27, 1967, they all burned to death. To make this story even worse, prior to the test, the 3 of them had voiced concerns about the amount of flammable material that was on the craft. The fire was determined to have been caused by an electrical fault, and it spread extremely quickly due to combustible nylon material coupled with the high-pressure, pure oxygen atmosphere in the cabin. They also were unable to be rescued or escape because the plug door hatch couldn't be opened against the internal pressure of the cabin. Before this test, it was believed that since there was no fuel on the rocket, it would be relatively safe, which is exactly why there wasn't more preparedness in case of emergency. Looking back now, this photo is certainly more mysterious than anyone at the time could have ever imagined. In our number 3 spot today,
I need that. I'm not gonna hold you. I like Slowpoke anyway as a Pokemon. He's good.
This is the day when an 8.6 magnitude earthquake hit just off of the coast of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. As we all know, earthquakes can often have after effects, and this one sent shockwaves throughout the Pacific. This led to the formation of an ocean-wide tsunaami that had waves reaching up to 13 stories high. This disaster went on to strike Hilo, Hawaii, in what became one of the worst disasters in Hawaiian history. This photo somehow survived the disaster, and it captures the terrifying view someone must have had in their last moments. This photo is especially chilling to view just days after the Tonga volcano eruption occurred. The Earth and these naturally occurring disasters are absolutely terrifying and powerful and unpredictable. In our number 2 spot today, we have the shadows. As most of us know, on August 6th, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. This was devastating to the city, and of course we can understand the implications of this. This photo shows what is called a nuclear shadow, and this is just one that could be seen throughout the city. When the bomb detonated 1,900 feet above the center of the city, the explosion...
If you love missing out on free gifts, then this is not for you, because we have an exclusive offer for true patriots. I can tell you right now, this is going to upset a ton of people because we're giving away these incredible outdoor mystery boxes for free. All you have to pay is the shipping, no hidden charges, no recurring fees, none of that, just cover the shipping. Visit the next page by pressing the blue button or blue little arrow in the bottom left of your screen.
Caused temperatures of 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit to spread through everything within 1,600 feet of it. This, of course, destroyed nearly everything and everyone within a mile of it. The light and heat from the bomb was so powerful that it bleached the exposed surfaces of the city, except, as seen here, where an unsuspecting person was shielding the surface with their own body. It is truly such an eerie reminder of the impact that this really had.
Damn, that poison gas is gonna get me, man.
This is one of those photos that was just taken in the right place at the right time, but it shows a very scary situation. A man named Jim Meads is said to have taken this photo in 1962. The story goes that a man named Bob Sauray had mentioned to Jim that he was going to fly this plane called the Lightning the following day. Jim took his kids out for a walk that next day and took his camera with him, intending to get a shot of the aircraft as Bob flew it. He wanted to get a photo of his children with the airfield in the background just as the plane was coming into land. They found the spot, they got all set up, just waiting for the plane to return. Turns out that day Bob didn't fly the plane, and instead the pilot was actually a man named George Aird, who was another test pilot. So George is up in the plane and he realizes that there's trouble. Since I don't know plain language, I'm gonna use this quote from fearoflanding.com, which wrote, quote, "Whilst carrying out a demonstration flight, there was a fire in the aircraft's reheat zone. Unburned fuel in the rear fuselage had been ignited by a small crack in the jet pipe and had weakened the tailplane actuator anchorage. This weakened the tailplane control system, which failed with the aircraft at 100 feet on final approach. This led to the plane pitching up aggressively as George came into land. George lost control and he ejected in order to save himself. Luckily, since the nose had pitched up, he had just enough time. The tractor driver in this photo was then 15-year-old Mike Sutterby, who had spent that summer working on this airfield. He wasn't actually posing, he was telling Jim to move since he wasn't supposed to be
As
there.
always, and it's returned tenfold.
What was happening behind him. This is all what led to this photo being snapped and this story surviving all of these years. In the end, George was okay, aside from some minor injuries, and while Jim didn't get the photo he set out for that day, he still got quite an interesting one.
No need to wait till the last weekend of the month to save big, because at Soreski Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can get Black Friday savings all month long. Right now, during the Black Friday sales event, lease a new 2023 Jeep Compass 4x4 for only $379 a month, or save 15% off MSRP. Or lease a new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe for only $489 a month. And we make it easy because we'll deliver right to your door. The Black Friday sales event at Soreski, over 107 years as your hometown dealership. Search Soreski.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have SIM cards. We see all the time in movies and shows when people are trying to be super secret, they smash their phone and their SIM card, but as it turns out, maybe we should all be smashing our SIM cards, super secret lifestyle or not. In February of 2015, it was reported that Snowden provided documents that showed that the NSA and GCHQ had hacked into a Dutch company that is responsible for manufacturing and supplying 2 billion SIM cards per year, and they supply places like AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and a variety of other providers. While this hack would suggest that the agencies would then now have access to billions of unique encryption keys, which could potentially allow them to bypass wireless providers and monitor both voice and data transmissions of every user that has a SIM card made by this company. The company did reply to the situation and said that they had been the target of at least two, quote, particularly sophisticated intrusions, and they suggested that they believed that the NSA and the GCHQ were responsible, but the company then denied that the hack was successful in gaining access to those encryption keys.
Number 9. Quantum computer. This next one is eye-opening, to say the least. Computers are getting more and more advanced by the day. Deepfakes are going to ruin my life. They're getting really good at those. I feel like an old man every time I see those and fall for it. But thanks to our man Snowden, it was reported in the Washington Post on January 2nd, 2014, that the NSA is working hard at creating their own computer. How fun must that be? It's called the quantum computer, and it cost about $80 million to create. And no, it can't send you back in time. This computer is safely stored in a massive room-sized metal box, which is not intimidating at all, and it's part of a program called Penetrating Hard Targets. I want to make so many jokes, but I won't. So it can break encryptions for just about anything. Finance records, medical, your old MSN, probably. What a nightmare that would be. The NSA is well on their way to breaking every form of public encryption. This quantum computer can theoretically break through any RSA encryption, which for the average computer today, that takes, I don't know, years, but this supercomputer can break through a lot faster. I'm talking days. Just don't go in my MSN, please.
In our number 8 spot today, we have Project Dishfire. It was reported by The Guardian that it had been revealed that the NSA collects 200 million text messages a day from around the world. They then use these messages to pull the details of certain location information, contact networks, and the credit card details of different mobile users. It was also reported that the NSA also provided British intelligence agencies with all of the data, just without the actual context of the text messages. So the NSA has all your secrets and nudies, but at least they didn't share them? I don't know. Basically, they have all of this data and at any point could potentially extract certain information like past travel plans, your financial transactions, your contacts, regardless of whether or not you were being investigated for something. Yes, this sounds illegal, unethical, and a little shady, and this revelation all came before former President Barack Obama gave a speech about proposed policy changes in reaction to the whistleblowing that was going on around Snowden and the NSA.
Number 7. Friends without benefits. Even allies of the United States are not safe here. Thanks to Snowden, at the end of October 2013, it was leaked that the states were spying on Germany, France, and Spain. The NSA had tapped into 35 phones, which, by the way, not just a couple of random dudes, they were spying on 35 world leaders. One of which was German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who called out the NSA after finding out, of course, and said this act of snooping was just unacceptable between friends. Really went personal with the friends comment there. It's like when you show somebody a photo on your phone and they start swiping, like, hi, hello, betrayal, see ya. Now, as you hear this, you're thinking, well, I'm not a world leader, what's the big deal here? Well, it was also reported that the NSA was monitoring phone calls in Spain for the average folk. They monitored about 60 million calls in 1 month, so yeah, world leader or not, be a little concerned about these guys. Maybe.
In our number 6 spot today, we have the Brazil spying scandal. It was reported by The Guardian that Brazil was second only to the United States in terms of the amount of communications that were being subjected to surveillance by the NSA. This means that the NSA were seriously spying on millions of Brazilians, including the emails and phone calls of their president. At the G20 summit that year, which took place in Russia, Brazil's president at the time, Dilma Rousseff, had a one-on-one meeting with Obama in reference to this. He said that he would look into it and get back to her, but before he could, more NSA tea was spilled, and it was revealed that the agency had also targeted Petrobras, which is Brazil's state oil company. This led the president to call this new information industrial espionage, and as a result, she called off her scheduled visit to the White House and demanded answers. The called off visit was important because it was to be the first state visit by a Brazilian president in about 2 decades, and although the Obama administration claimed that it was a joint decision made by both presidents, some media outlets described it as the sternest punishment that had been received at that time in response to all of these NSA leaks. This also led Brazil to take a multitude of steps to hopefully get away from the American-run internet.
Number 5. Backup. When Glenn Greenwald kicked this whole thing off in 2013 with Snowden and his reveals, it was this massive security breach, obviously. Snowden was, of course, in hot water immediately, but he was ahead of the game from the start. See, Snowden had told Greenwald that if anything crazy happens to him,
Unbeatable Black Friday deals are happening now at Tractor Supply. With can't-miss savings throughout the store on grills, toys, heaters, and more, you'll find something for everyone on your list. Shop now through Saturday, in stores, online, or on the TSC app.
We are Wordens, your go-to wholesale textile supplier. Whether you're looking for high-quality t-shirts, polos, cozy sweats,
well, he'll just leak even more information. If Snowden was unable to access these encrypted documents on one of his 4 laptops, then it was set up to automatically send those private documents to higher ups, aka the people directly involved in the leak. On top of that, Snowden reminded The Guardian that he has many, many more secrets to spill, specifically the NSA's surveillance systems. This is why you make backups. Duly noted, Snowden.
In our number 4 spot today, we have the embassy catastrophe. There was a document from 2007 that was leaked which named 38 different embassies and missions that were so-called targets of US surveillance. This document didn't quite make it clear whether or not these targets were being looked into by only the NSA or if the CIA and FBI were also involved. The document described certain things like bugging fax machines with devices that allowed them to listen in on conversation, and the document also listed the names of different programs that are used within the embassies. The document showed that the embassies targeted weren't just those of countries who seemed to be enemies with the United States, and instead included places like India and Mexico, Greece, and Turkey. It appears as if the goal was to gain insider information into the diplomatic relations between the targets and the United States. The EU embassy in Washington, D.C. was one of the targets on this document, and this leak had the potential to have jeopardized one of the largest attempted free trade agreements in the world, because shortly after this all came out, negotiations were set to begin between the EU and the United States. The French president at the time made his anger about the situation very public and stated that all future negotiations will only be made under the agreement that the United States cease all unauthorized surveillance of any EU buildings or personnel.
Number 3, China. I mentioned earlier that summit where the United States originally wanted to call out China for cyber attacks, but instead Snowden leaked a PowerPoint training slideshow and the tables were turned just like that. Snowden revealed himself as this massive spy kid on June 12th, and he said he was planning on remaining in Hong Kong until he was kicked out. But in his first press interview since coming out with all this information, he informed South China's Morning Post that the NSA was hacking Chinese and Hong Kong computers since back in 2009. That's a long time ago. It's like when Avatar 1 came out. That's how long ago that was. More specifically, Snowden said that the NSA hacked the Chinese University of Hong Kong, aka the heart of all internet traffic in Hong Kong. Now, of course, this is eye-opening, but there's many who see this hack attack as a good thing. See, citizens want to know what their government's up to, and honestly, I myself would love to know if the NSA was rummaging through my chats. So a poll was conducted on June 10th and 11, and apparently 44% of Americans were on board with Snowden's outing. They were with him, and 42% of Americans say that he's a bad boy. 57% were not a fan of the NSA's action, while 37% were on board. 30% of folks liked the fact that they were being spied on. That's some weird kind of kink, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you want the NSA in your Dropbox? Let us know in the comments your thoughts below. We'd love to hear from you.
In our number 2 spot today, we have caller information. In 2013, it was reported by The Guardian that, according to the documents that were leaked by Snowden, the Obama administration has allowed the NSA to collect different caller information from Verizon. This was done through what was called a, quote, business records provision of the Patriot Act that was established under the presidency of George W. Bush. It allowed the government to order Verizon to hand over caller information every single day. The information included things like the time, location, and duration of the call. The information began being collected under the Bush administration in 2001, and they were collected from AT&T, Verizon, and Bell South. Of course, once these documents were leaked and the information became public knowledge, U.S. officials began trying to reassure the public that this surveillance was somehow necessary and was actually a program vital to national security, but many people rightfully felt like the spying was an unnecessary invasion of their privacy. This one is tricky because there certainly is a fine line with these things.
And finally, number 1. PowerPoint. Nothing sounds less cool than a leaked 41-slide PowerPoint presentation. But when it comes to the NSA, odds are it's going to be a little juicy. This slideshow is used to train US intelligence, and I gotta say, 41 pages? That's it? I did 45 on medieval knights in high school. Step your game up. This program called PRISM cost about $20 million a year, and it was the highlight of this leak. PRISM kicked off back in 2007. Originally, they partnered with Microsoft, But once they were attached to Apple, come 2012, well, that's when things got a little bit fishy, as most things are with Apple, specifically their maps. That was horrible. The PowerPoint confirmed that the NSA has access to servers belonging to massive tech giants like Google, Skype, or even YouTube. Yeah, right here, they're listening right now. So your search history, emails, anything that rolls through those, usernames, passwords, well, they've got them. Even Skaterboy69 at Hotmail, odds are, they're already looking. You're done. You're canceled, Brad. There was a summit in California which originally was tense. The United States were accusing China of cyber attacks, but right after Edward leaked this Prism T, they didn't have much power at that summit. China and Europe's citizens weren't too pleased here, and honestly, yeah, it's a botched meeting. I can understand why.
Starting us off for number 10 are drugs. This is honestly no secret at all.
Introducing
Hollywood is filled with drugs because contrary to popular belief, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a ton of drugs. If you don't want to take my word for it, take it from Dennis Quaid. The actor said he had dabbled in cocaine before becoming a star, but it was just for casual use. I love how that's so casual, like, oh, just cocaine for the casual use. In 1974, he moved to LA and his usage didn't get out of control until he started being on set for all these big mainstream movies. Quaid revealed that movie budgets disguised cocaine as petty cash to keep the drugs on set a secret. Moreover, it's freely given out on movie sets because it was just the norm back then and everyone was just doing it. He then shared his coke addiction caused his life to fall apart, and it was because of Hollywood. Another prime example is obviously Matthew Perry, who plays Chandler on Friends. If you didn't know that, are you literally living under a rock? Now, he was seriously addicted to cocaine for like 3 full seasons of Friends, which he doesn't even recall filming. I didn't think it was given out that sparingly though, but you know what they say, cocaine is the rich man's drug.
Moving on to number 9, we have the casting couch. So this is probably not the biggest secret anymore, but for quite some time it was. Basically, there's a lot of sleaze bags in Hollywood. Some Hollywood directors or stars invite females over and, well, offer them roles in movies in exchange for certain favors. They call this the casting couch. It's absolutely disgusting. Like, they use their wealth and power to persuade innocent people. But sadly, a lot of people desperate for fame will agree to this. In an interview with GQ magazine, Megan Fox actually revealed the truth behind this. She said that numerous big Hollywood legends would invite her over for what she thought was just going to be like a meeting for a new opportunity. But when she got there, she realized their true intentions. She shut down several men throughout her career.
At number 8, we have Alfred Hitchcock. This one honestly pains me because I love his films, but he's such a misogynistic human being. Like, I'm like, oh. Since his films emphasize a voyeuristic viewpoint from the male protagonist, most female characters were almost just like stock characters. They were remote, usually blonde, sexy, and in the end, they always got humiliated. With films like Psycho, Rebecca, and of course The Birds, the man achieved a lot but was a total dick. He once referred to actors as cattle, which I mean, you may be directing the movie, but they are literally bringing it to life. With The Birds, there was major controversy concerning Hitchcock and his treatment of the female lead, Tippi Hedren, who plays Melanie. After she was cast, Alfred became literally obsessed with her and would grab her out of nowhere, non-consensually, and touch her sexually. He stalked her throughout shooting and would isolate her from the rest of the cast while whispering explicit things in her ear. Tippi obviously shut down all advances, and he did not take that well. In the last phone booth attack scene, Tippi's face was cut by the glass pane, and she said she was misled about the logistics of the scene. Or did Alfred just do it on purpose as revenge? If that wasn't petty enough, he also signed her to a 7-year contract that restricted her ability to do work. This was actually never confirmed, but it came to light after he died, and even her co-star confirmed it. Apparently, he also taunted Tippi's daughter, Melanie Griffith, by giving her a wax figure of her mum in a coffin as a present when she was only 6 years old.
Making our way down the list at number 7, we have the Hollywood sign. So, a lot of dark things go down in Hollywood, as you probably realize by now. One of them was the suicide of Megan Twistle, a struggling Hollywood actress. She had dreams of making it big in Hollywood, but sadly that didn't happen. She was a successful Broadway actor, but didn't have much success in the film field. Her one role was a 15-second appearance in the movie Hazel's Cousins. The pressures of being successful in Hollywood, along with the Great Depression, kinda got to her. On the night of September 16th, 1932, she climbed to the top of the H on the Hollywood sign and jumped to her death. Now, this tragic incident actually had a huge influence on current pop culture. In the 2009 film Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, the H in the Hollywood sign was made the entrance to the underworld. In Lana Del Rey's song Lust for Life, it starts with the lyrics, "Climb up the H of the Hollywood sign." It's assumed that these are both references to Peg's death.
Now, at number 6 is Jane Mansfield. To be honest, I had not heard of Jane until I started researching this video, but wow, she was actually gorgeous. She was an American actress, singer, nightclub entertainer, and one of the first Playboy playmates. She was in movies like The Girl Can't Help It and Too Hot to Handle, and a bunch of more movies that came out way before I was born, and I haven't seen any of them. Now, in 1967, Jane was in Mississippi doing some appearances, and on the 28th of June, the plan was to go to New Orleans for another appearance. So Jane, her driver Ronnie, her attorney Sam, and 3 of her kids got into the car and set off on their way. At around 2:30 a.m. on Highway 90, their car was speeding when it crashed into the back of a tractor trailer. The adults in the front died instantly, including Jane, but her children thankfully walked away with minor injuries. Now, apparently Jane was actually decapitated since the car had its top literally sheared off, and it looked like her hair was tangled in the windshield. But it turns out she just suffered from severe head trauma, as in her skull was crushed. I love how I was like, just severe head trauma, that's a lot. And the blonde hair was from the wig that she was wearing, apparently. It was this incident that propelled the NHTSA to start adopting an undried guard on their tractor trailers, which is sometimes called a Mansfield bar. Fun fact, one of her kids that survived was Mariska Hargitay, who you all must know from Law and Order Special Victims Unit. I literally used to watch her so much growing up. I was like, damn, she has a hard name. But then I realized people pronounce my name really badly, and I'm like, okay, at least my name's not Mariska Hargitay.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with The Cursed Project. The 1961 film The Misfits was filmed with old Hollywood stars like Marilyn Monroe, Montgomery Clift, and Clark Gable. So you would think it would be a big success, right? Not so much. In fact, this movie is said to be cursed. When filming, they experienced a number of setbacks and bad things would happen to them. Then, Gable died of a heart attack a few days after filming. Marilyn Monroe overdosed on set and then died barely a year later after the film was finished. And the night that the movie was airing on television, Cliff died of a heart attack. That's so spooky. Like, all 3 stars died very soon after the production ended. So it's thought that this movie is somehow cursed.
And number 4 is Superman. No, I'm not talking about Henry Cavill, but I honestly really wish I was. No, I'm talking about George Reeves, who not only played Superman on TV in Adventures of Superman, he was also Superman in the film Superman and the Mole Men. And also, producer Chris just told me there was also a Christopher Reeves who also played Superman. But what made George notable was the manner in which he died or got murdered. On the 16th of June 1969, the LAPD reported that George had been shot in the head at some point between 1 and 2 in the morning. The people in the house at the time were his fiancée Lenore and 4 other people. They all went out, some to a restaurant, whereas Reeves went to a friend's wrestling match. Around midnight, he went to bed while 2 of the friends were downstairs just having a bit of a party. Apparently, he came down and angrily told them to be quiet, then calmed down and stayed for a while, had a drink, and then went back to bed. All the guests were downstairs when a while later they heard a single gunshot, and by the time they went upstairs, they found him lying across the bed naked with a pistol between his feet. It looked like he had shot himself, and the friends took an awfully long time to call the police, so they were so shocked and so very drunk. One friend claimed his fiancée was actually upstairs with him and came down after the gunshot, telling everyone to tell the police she was downstairs the whole time. Alright, Lenore, you're a bit shady. There was no gunpowder on Reeves' hands, no fingerprints on the gun. The bullet was found in the ceiling, yet there were also multiple bullets in the ground, yet they all only heard 1 gunshot. On the flip side, George was also sleeping with Fixer and MGM VP Eddie Mannix's wife Tony at the time, but you'll find out about him later. He is a douchebag. Rumor had it that Eddie had mafia ties and found out about the affair and had him killed. So either his fiancée killed him, the mafia killed him, or he actually did commit suicide. I don't know.
Coming in at number 3, we have the mysterious death of Thelma Todd. At just the age of 29, Thelma Todd became a successful Hollywood star. That was until December 16th, 1935, when she was found dead in her car in Joel Carmen's garage. Joel Carmen was an actress and wife of Roland West, who Thelma had the occasional fling with. The cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning. However, her car wasn't running when they found her, and it still had fuel in the tank. As a result, this has become a huge Hollywood secret. No one truly knows what happened to her. Was it accidental, or was it her ex-husband seeking revenge? Maybe it was her business partner or secret lover. Maybe even her shady agent. We really don't know. Now, West did say that he locked her out, which made her seek refuge in her car. And so she may have accidentally killed herself from having the car running in a closed garage. But autopsy revealed that she had damage to her throat. One popular theory is that she died at the hands of West, who then staged her death to look like an accident. There's just a lot of secrets surrounding the case. Someone knows what happened, but to this day, we truly don't know.
Now, number 2 is the fixer. Some believe any publicity is good publicity, but I mean, there's legitimately bad press out there. Like, if you're gonna get caught getting arrested for a DUI, or you go to jail for murder, that is bad publicity. You may have heard of this before, but in Hollywood, when someone gets to a bit of a sticky situation, they hire a fixer like Michael Sitrick to twist the negative stories into positive ones. I get why fixers are so important, since celebrities get to shit every week, but sometimes they protect the wrong people. For example, back in 1937, Patricia Douglas, a 20-year-old actress, went to an after party for the MGM annual sales convention. And just imagine this party as a giant Hollywood frat party where people can legit do whatever they want because of how much money is just floating in the air. Either way, during the night, MGM sales exec David Ross, along with a friend, forced her to get drunk before sexually assaulting her. Patricia obviously wanted to press charges, and she did, but MGM got their fixer, Eddie Mannix, who I also mentioned beforehand, got him involved, and he made sure David's studio was never mentioned during the scandal. That in turn ruined Patricia's reputation, and Eddie somehow also got a portrayal in Hail Caesar, which is some sick kind of karma after ruining Patricia's life, and God.
You're stupid. I'm switching over to Crystal Chronicles. I'm gonna have to fix that a little later on. He said, yes, you, sir. Yes, you, sir. The kid, bro.
why it really doesn't take much for me to be shook. Back in 2012 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Mr. Dode was mowing his lawn when he saw something incredulous. He owned a Virgin Mary holding baby Jesus sculpture and she was bleeding from her temple. He touched it and realized it really was wet and it really was coming from her hairline. The couple told Channel 13 News they believed it was a message from God and that after telling all her neighbors what happened, they all spent the night praying to the sculpture. Even people not
That
living
is
in their neighborhood
crazy.
came to see the miracle in person. Even a professor of religious studies at Louisiana University said it
Those
made
bombs
happen
pissing me
because
off, man.
of
I'm
the
telling you, they
Virgin
bring the
Mary's
nostalgia
life
back playing those old games, but it's like,
what do you
damn,
guys
bro,
think?
like
Hoax or real?
fucking me up midstream, like.
Coming in at number 9 is The Haunting of Hill House. Now, I didn't want to confine this list to just real-life sculptures, so I decided to throw this Easter egg in there as well. Now, early on in the Haunting of Hill House series, I think this happens in around episode 2 or 3, the power in the house goes out and Nell disappears, so the family set off to look for her in the house. Olivia, flashlight in hand, enters a bedroom on the 2nd floor that has
Let's
2
make it
separate
happen,
sculptures
Captain.
on either
This
side.
shit's kinda
She goes
got
in
me a
and
little
calls out
upset,
Nellie.
but
As
hey.
the camera pans to her, you can see the sculptures
Happens, right?
behind her now. And not many people noticed this, but the sculpture on the left of her was looking straight ahead when she walked into the room, but when the camera pans, the sculpture is actually looking straight at Olivia. Now, I know it's a scary show and that these things tend to happen, but it was such a subtle detail that rarely anyone saw it, but if you're a fan of the show, you're welcome. At number 8, we have The Moving Kids. Now, this one is creepy as hell, you guys. So this article by Maggie Wilson claims that an anonymous woman decided to move out of the city and move into the suburbs because she felt it was safer to raise her kids there. As a city-raised kid, I disagree with this anonymous woman. We're still okay as well. But anyway, thinking the suburbs were safe was a mistake. Slowly but surely, sculptures started appearing on her lawn outside her house, and she had no idea who was putting them there. At first, she thought it was a prank from kids on her street, but it wasn't. All the sculptures were of little kids. The first were 2 holding a bowl of some kind while sitting down. The next was a little boy kneeling on one leg, and the next one was a tiny girl holding a bowl as well. It was just weird. The woman took the whole thing as a bad omen since a new sculpture was on her lawn literally every day without fail. But every morning, the statues would be closer to the house than the night before, kind of like they were moving overnight when no one could see them. The most recent sculpture showed up right outside her doorstep. Like, honestly, just imagine waking up and going to drop your kids off at school.
Right into them. That's what I get
You
there.
see when you open the door is a small smiling sculpture of a girl.
Got 2 pieces.
It's creepy. You can't deny that. Filling our number 7 slot is the Toronto series. I was so surprised to find this story because A, I live in Toronto, B, I go to the waterfront all the time, and C, I never even saw any of these sculptures. So back in 2016, the arrival sculptures arrived at Island Park in Toronto. The first one was the jubilant man who has his arms in the air hoping for something. The second is Orphan Boy, which is a little boy with his hands like this and looking just all around melancholy. The third is Pregnant Woman, which is basically a groaning woman holding her belly. We have the cringy apprehensive man, and finally the woman on ground, who's basically a dead woman who low-key looks like a recovered body from Pompeii. I kid you not, she looks exactly like that. All the sculptures are made of bronze, and many have claimed to see the dead woman move under the quilt or blanket sculpted on top of her. The sculptures made by Rowan Giuseppe were designed to honor the great famine that happened in the late 1840s in Ireland. People have speculated that the wandering souls of those who died in the famine went into that sculpture, and that's why it moves. I think that's a bit of a reach, but what do you guys think? Now at number 6 are the lions. Lions are my favorite animals, and for many reasons. Number 1, they're the king of the jungle. Number 2, I'm a Leo, so hello. 3, I love every type of feline. I'm a cat lady, you guys all know this, so a lion is just like the epitome of a feline. Either way, at the University of Cincinnati, there are 2 stone lion sculptures standing outside McMicken Hall. Now, McMicken isn't a residence hall, it's strictly for classes and faculty members' offices. But with 21 departments operating inside of it, students are going in and out like nobody's business. Many students have reported hearing a growl at night, and clearly there's no rogue escaped lion near the campus, so it had to have come from the sculptures. Legend has it, or rather the students have speculated, that the sculptures only move if a cheetah or a virgin walks past them. For what reason specifically did they say cheetah or virgin?
happens.
Only God knows.
I forgot how to do
Number
it.
5 is the smile. Now this one is such a
You
tiny
need
change.
one?
I had to watch the video a billion times to actually catch it. But back in 2016, at a church in Kuala Lumpur lies a sculpture of the Virgin Mary. Churchgoers claim the sculpture not only smiled, it moved its eyes and it grew taller. During a Sunday mass, the priest himself noticed the miracle and told everyone to look at her. She's looking at us, she had tears in her eyes. He went on to tell reporters that when they all started singing Ave Maria, she started smiling and moving her lips. Now she's made from fiberglass, but onlookers said she apparently not only turned into porcelain, but she grew 3 inches taller. I'm sorry? Like, I can suspend my disbelief enough and believe, okay, maybe she smiled, but to transform into another material and grow? Nah, I just feel like I'm on an episode of Punk'd right now. Ashton, come out already. At number 4 are the scented tears. Way back in 2002 in Perth, a fiberglass Virgin Mary started crying, but her tears smelled oddly nice. Her owner brought her back from Bangkok and announced to the media that her sculpture was crying, so a mass gathered at the small church she's located in to see it in person. Even the Archbishop of Perth believed the tears to be authentic, saying he thought it was a hoax at first, but saw it in person and was taken aback. To get to the bottom of this so-called miracle, scientists took samples of her tears to try and find out either what they were or where they were coming from. After x-raying the whole sculpture, they found no cavities or liquid inside of her. One of the local priests in Perth claimed if you use the tears as an oil, it can heal the sick. I mean, I don't know how useful that made-up remedy is, pal, but we salute you for trying your medieval ways. Filling our number 3 slot is Benjamin Franklin. Near the library of the American Philosophical Society in Philadelphia, there's a huge sculpture of Benjamin Franklin, which isn't really a surprise since he was one of the people who founded the society in 1743. Now, I could tell you a lot more, but I'm not about to launch into a 2-minute history lecture about the society, even though I could, but I'll save you guys the boredom. By the late 19th century, after Franklin had died, many saw his ghost near the library just wandering around and I guess making sure people were learning efficiently. Legend has it that his statue comes to life and dances in the streets at night, and people who had seen it way back when had no way of recording or capturing that moment, so really it's all just hearsay. Like they say in the 21st century, pics or it didn't happen. Now at number 2 is the Doll's House. This is another one located very near to me, which took me by surprise as well, but also I'm low-key totally not mad at it. Located in Niagara Falls, the Canadian side, not the American side, the Doll's House was built in 1835 and it did a lot more than just house inanimate dolls. Apparently the house had a tunnel underneath it where slaves would be received after escaping from the American side. Apparently in one of these escapades, a young girl drowned in a well deep below the house. After that point, various sculptures inside the Doll's House would start moving all on their own, and a ghost of a girl carrying lilacs manifests near the staircase. Now I don't know who the ghost is, but I'm assuming she's the one who died in the well, unless there are more people that died that I don't know of. The house also weirdly always smells like lilacs despite none being on the property. The sculptures are said to have moved on CCTV footage, and the owner of the house has frequently found them in a different place from the night before. Now let me tell you something I don't do. I don't do creepy dolls, I don't do moving sculpture dolls, and I don't do tomatoes. Hate them. I just hate them. I like ketchup though. And finally, at number 1 is Witch Bonnie. There are so many stories surrounding Witch Bonnie's origins, it's actually insane. Some claim she was a mill girl, others say she was hanged during the Salem witch trials, no one really knows. Her gravestone is located at Lowell Cemetery in Massachusetts, and it bears the names of her whole family. The cemetery is also home to the Witch Bonnie sculpture. Now her arms are outstretched, holding a sheet above her head and behind her. It looks like the sheet is majestically just billowing in the wind. Her eyes are staring at the sky, and there's a black tear under her left eye. Now in terms of outfit, she's wearing a toga, sort of off-shouldered dress, and that lets you see the top parts of her breasts. Now legend has it that every October her dress starts getting lower day by day, and by Halloween her breasts are fully exposed. Now that is scandalous. Expose them nipples, girl. But on a real note, Wiccans leave offerings for her every Halloween and congregate there, so surely if this did happen, someone would have seen it. Maybe Wiccans have seen it but are just choosing to keep it secret in their community. Who really knows?
Getting started with this one at number 10 with the man himself, Jesus. I I mean, whoa, at the end of the clip, it looks like Jesus is looking straight into your soul and he's judging you. Now, I know there's gonna be a lot of conflicting comments in this one, but seriously, do you guys think that this Jesus statue is actually blinking his eyes and moving his mouth? Or do you think this is an animatronic or a robot thing and it's not a statue, it's just made out to look like one? I've read that a lot of churches will come up with deceiving ways to make it look like their religious statues are moving so that people will attend their church. So I think that might be the case here. It would be both extremely scary and interesting if the statue was actually moving though. But I don't know, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hashtag it moved or hashtag hell no. The rotating Egyptian statue spins into number 9. An ancient Egyptian statue caused a lot of pandemonium at a museum in Manchester when it was discovered that it was turning on its axis inside of its display case. Curators and workers at the museum immediately said that this ancient statue must be cursed because there is no other logical explanation for it. I'll let you guys be the judge. Here's a clip of this creepy statue moving in its sealed display case. This statue is dated back to the 1800s BC, and it was found in a mummy's tomb, so I get why people think that the statue was cursed. The workers were so scared of this phenomenon, so they decided to record it moving on a time-lapse video, and they were astonished that the statue spun 180 degrees without anyone going near it. Well, I hate to burst your bubble here, but the statue isn't cursed with an ancient spell. It rotates because there is a small vibration in the display case that causes it to turn. So I guess we don't have to call a witch to lift the spell. We don't need to call the Ghostbusters either. Virgin Mary moves lips during a prayer, and this stage phenomenon makes its way onto this list at number 8. Alright, so back in July of 2015, there were some reports over in Australia that a painting of the Virgin Mary was seen moving her lips. Apparently her lips were moving in sync of a prayer at the Charbells Church, and there was actually 3 people who witnessed this. One of them managed to film the incident, so here it is for you guys. So this footage was quickly uploaded onto the internet, and a lot of Catholic people believe that this is a very special miracle. But of course, there are a lot of skeptics who argue that this is actually a hoax. I'm one of those skeptics. They claim that the movement of the camera and the lighting in the church act as an optical illusion, and that's why it looked like her lips are moving. Well, I hate to burst your bubbles, but even the church stated that they believe that this video is nothing more than an optical illusion. Buddha statue makes its way onto this list at number 7. Over in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, several Buddha statues in the Phu Xian service center was caught moving. Now this really happened. I couldn't even make this stuff up even if I wanted to. If I was in this temple praying, I think I would bolt to the door. A lot of worshippers stayed in the temple because they believed that these Buddha statues were trying to send them a positive message, but personally I would find the nearest exit, bathe in some holy water, and I probably wouldn't have any statues or gnomes at my house anytime soon. These Buddha statues were seen moving their lips, blinking, moving their chest and hands, and emitting lights. This happened for almost an hour straight, and of course I have a clip for you guys. Okay, is this real life right now? Did you guys see the statue blink and emitting a bright light? Kinda creepy. After the service ended, 100 people lined up to speak to the abbot of the temple to tell him that they saw these statues moving. This is too much for me. I can't handle this one, so let's move on. Up next, number 6, we have this mysterious statue that was caught moving. As you guys probably guessed, a lot of these statues that were caught moving are religious figures or artifacts, and this is no different. I'm about to play you guys a clip of Sai Baba statue, and it's moving on camera. Sai Baba is an Indian spiritual leader who is regarded as a saint. So let's take a look at the clip I have for you guys. This was a night vision camera that was able to capture the statue moving on its own. It looks like the statue used its arms to remove
This is pissing me off.
that it's hanging on its neck. I don't know about you guys, but I find this extremely creepy, and I think I'm about to go back to my condo and remove all my statues.
Can't even like fucking. I don't even remember the name of this fucking map. I'm trying to get back to the beginning. I don't even think you could leave the board though. This shit is fucking stupid.
My Groot statue moving, or would I? Actually, I have a baby Groot at home, and that would be kind of cool to have a baby Groot as a friend. In at number 5, get ready and pray because we're talking about Jesus. I'm about to play a clip for you guys of a Jesus statue moving his head, and this is during a Catholic procession. Get your Bibles out and prepare to be scared.
No one knows what to do in this fucking shit, bro.
Religious people say that this is a true sign from God, while others claim that this footage is fake because they can see the cloth of the statue's back moving. Either way, this clip was filmed during the pilgrimage in 2004 in a city called Saltillo in Mexico, and ever since it was uploaded onto YouTube, it has sparked a lot of controversy. Some people can't believe that others would swallow this story, while others are claiming that they have just seen other Jesus statues do the same thing, and one person even said that his Virgin Mary statue that he keeps in his house has been weeping blood for 4 months. I mean, whoa, buddy, what kind of sins have you committed? Your Virgin Mary is crying out blood? I think it's time to get out of the house.
Bro?
Go and pray. So yeah, I think it's time to repent and visit a confession. Maybe turn yourself into the police because something is up. Let's stay on topic of Jesus in at number 4. Yep, Jesus did it again. A crucified Jesus statue was seen moving its head during a Good Friday Mass in the Mexican state of Jalisco. Worshippers who attended the event said that his head moved slightly and that it was a miracle. They believed that he wanted to tell them something or that he wanted something from them. Let's not take their word for it. Have a look for yourself. What do you guys think? Was this some sort of miracle, or could there be another reasonable explanation? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, because I'm actually pretty curious on what you guys have to say about this. Despite a lot of the worshippers believing that this Jesus statue was a miracle, the priest of the Mexican church claims that there is a lot more logical explanations. He claims that the statue's head collapsed because the ropes holding it became loose. Let's maybe stray away from Jesus for a little bit, just for a little bit. Don't be hating on me now. And let's talk about Snow White. And Snow White comes in at number 3. This footage was captured by an anonymous source, and if you look closely, you're able to see the Snow White statue blinking. Just a warning though, you probably shouldn't watch this video if you're weak at heart. Okay, no, that's no joke. This doesn't sit well with me, and I don't think we'll ever be able to get that image out of our heads. I mean, come on. The statue's eyes are painted on, and she doesn't have any eyelids, so how the heck is this even possible? We are being trolled. We have to be, right? There are some scary witchcraft going on here, or she's possessed by the blinking demon. Okay, moving on to number 2 on our list, we have the Virgin Mary statue. A Hispanic church in southeastern Mexico is attracting a lot of people from all over the world because a lot of people are claiming that she is weeping tears from her eyes. But I'll play the clip and let you guys be the judge. Do you guys think this is real? Apparently people visit the statue to pray and cry to her with hopes of being healed. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I would ever visit a statue that is known to cry. This just seems super weird, super scary. I'm not sure what to think of it. Maybe possessed. Maybe it's possessed by an evil spirit. But then again, there are a lot of other people who say that unless the Pope verifies that the statue is really crying, it must be a hoax. Finally, at the top spot on our list, number 1, we have this creepy statue, and of course, I have to warn you guys of this one. This clip is actually really creepy, and I think you're gonna have nightmares for days because of it, so you're welcome. warned you guys, so I'm sorry parents for kids not being able to sleep tonight. I think we're going to need to start a support group for people who have witnessed statues moving, because this video is a little bit too much to handle. And what is it with Jesus statues moving all over the world? I'm a little bit concerned about this. After this video was uploaded onto the internet, paranormal investigators and experts spent weeks investigating this video, and they concluded that this video wasn't edited in any way, which scares me so much. Apparently more than 20 paranormal specialists, as well as priests, sculptors, video editors, and other special effect designers, they've spent a long time analyzing this video. So basically a bunch of professionals looked into this video and said that it was real. I don't know if I believe it still, although it got checked out by analysts. I don't know, unless I'm there, I could see the original footage. I just can't believe it, because how is it even possible? A Virgin Mary statue weeping oil soaks into number 10. A large number of religious people surrounded a statue of the Virgin Mary in northern Israel because the statue is known for weeping a healing oil. A family who owns this statue strongly believes that the Virgin Mary statue weeps miracle oil that is known to heal different kinds of sicknesses and diseases. Let's take a look at the statue for ourselves.
There's nothing more powerful than you making your thing happen. Really going for it. Doing business on your terms.
Okay, what do you guys think? Could this be some kind of miracle healing oil, or is it just a scheme that this family came up with? I think it might be a placebo effect, because these people truly want to believe that the statue is responsible for producing miracle oil, but I'm pretty skeptical about this. But I don't know how you would explain the oil coming from her eyes, whether this is real or not. I'm officially creeped out here, so let's quickly move on to number 9. A Hindu goddess eyes caught blinking blinks its way into number 9 on this list. This statue is Lord Kali, and this Hindu goddess is known as the destroyer of evil forces, and she is also seen as a divine protector. So it seems like she'd be a good statue to have in your home, right? Well, according to this video, I'm not too sure anymore. Take a look at this. It literally looks like the statue's eyes are piercing through your soul and watching every move you make. Maybe the person who filmed this was an evil person, and the statue was like, yeah, I see you. Don't come any closer. And what's going on with her skull necklace? She doesn't seem like a very inviting or friendly goddess to me. Her eyes freak me out, and I think after watching this video, I probably won't be able to sleep at night. Oh, and did you guys notice that scary looking sickle she's holding on to? This statue is too much for me. Next up, number 8, we have a moving doll statue caught moving on camera. This video is in Spanish, so let me translate it for you. Hello, I'm a possessed doll, and I'm coming to kill you. So basically, this is a very possessed doll that was given to this young girl on her 15th birthday. I'm pretty sure I'd rather stick to the brand new car. Or is that 16? Is Sweet 16 the brand new car? The girl in this video is making fun of her doll, and she's saying that the doll is really ugly. Well, I guess the doll didn't like this much, because this happened shortly after.
Avani, go sit down.
The evil doll wasn't going to take any of her negativity. She moved her head and gave the teenage girl a death stare. I'm kind of on this doll's side here. Now, obviously, I'd probably burn this doll, bury it far away from me, or dump it into a fast-moving river, make sure, it doesn't come back. But you know what? I'm kind of glad this doll stood up for herself. I'm just glad I've never had to deal with a possessed doll that could probably murder me in my sleep. Have you guys ever experienced anything like this? Let me know your craziest stories in the comment section below. Virgin Mary weeping blood drips into number 7. What's with the Virgin Mary's eyes? I mean, get that thing under control. Maybe buy some Visine, because honestly, these statues are freaking me out. Most times the statues of the Virgin Mary who are seen crying blood or oil have been found to have been just an elaborate hoax put together by people who are obviously trying to get some money from visiting pilgrims. When experts are called in to perform a formal investigation on these statues, it is found that these people inserted tiny pipes running through the statue, which releases liquid gradually. Okay, so knowing all of this now, let's look closely at this creepy Virgin Mary crying blood. I'm gonna call this one as being a hoax. I don't want to insult the Virgin Mary and have a negative karma, so you know what? I think let's move on to the next one. A creepy little Barbie makes its way onto this list at number 6. After watching this video, I'm totally convinced that Barbies are evil and possessed and probably shouldn't be sold in toy stores. Take a look for yourself. Alright, so it appears like this little girl is having the best day, you know, playing with her 2 Barbies. Yeah, that's what I thought, but then I kept watching the video and then this happened. Let's watch that again in slow-mo. So I'm definitely convinced now that Toy Story is probably real, and if you mistreat your toys, then they are probably planning on how they're going to kill you when you're sleeping. If I were to able to get a hold of this Barbie, I don't think I would even give it to my worst enemy, and I'm pretty sure I had the exact same reaction as this little girl when I first watched this video. Except my scream was definitely louder, and a much more higher pitch. She's probably scared for her life, and I think it's safe to say that she doesn't own any more Barbie. Virgin Mary opens her eyes, and this makes its way into this list at number 5. On our previous list, there was a lot of Jesus statues caught moving on camera, but on this list, we have a lot of Virgin Mary statues moving on camera. What is worse? I don't know what it is with these religious statues, but it is a huge phenomenon all over the world. This list is making me want to get rid of any statues that I have because I don't want them lurking into my place at night planning on how they're going to kill me or even punish me or just scare the bejesus out of me. But anyways, this creepy Virgin Mary statue was caught on a surveillance camera opening and closing her eyes. She looks like she was made out of concrete or stone, and I don't have an explanation for this. I don't know how this is happening. I'll play the clip, and in the comment section below, tell me what you think caused the eyes to move. I'm at loss for words here. I feel like I should go pray or bathe in holy water like now. So you know what? It's time to change things up. Let's talk about the Krishna statue, and this comes in number 4. Krishna is one of the major gods in Hinduism, who is the god of compassion, tenderness, and love. This particular statue was seen moving after someone reviewed a security camera one night. Hopefully this doesn't freak you out too much, but take a look at this. It looks like Krishna moved his right arm, and people who discovered him moving have no idea how he did it. There is literally no explanation for this, and I'm not sure if I want an explanation for this. I mean, is this real life right now? I don't know how inanimate objects move on their own. Some people will say that, you know, it's a camera trick, people have good editing skills, and some will say it's the power of God. Or I say it's possessed by some evil spirits. I think it's just creepy, and I need someone to come up with a logical explanation as to why these statues appear to be moving on their own, because I don't know how much of this creepiness I can actually handle. Hanuman drinking from a spoon makes its way onto this list at number 3. Hanuman is the symbol of strength and energy, and he is worshipped for his unselfish devotion to God. Well, apparently he also enjoys drinking milky substances from a spoon. I don't know how to explain this one. I mean, does this statue have some sort of vacuum in his mouth and that's how he's able to drink the liquid? Or is he really drinking from a spoon? A lot of people in the comment section of this video are saying that the statue is robotic, but then there are a lot of people who believe that the statue is actually moving on its own. I need to know the truth here. We need to start a moving statue investigation club or something, because I think it's time that we have answers. A Jesus statue moves his head. Oh, I couldn't believe this one. And this brings us into number 2. You didn't think I'd go through another statue video and not have Jesus in it, did you? Well, yeah, we had it. So we're talking about Jesus again. There's literally so many videos of Jesus statues moving during a religious ceremony, and this one is no exception. Let's take a look at this scary clip.
Reconozcan al Señor Jesús como el Hijo amado que el Padre ha enviado para salvación de todos.
Okay, so this video that you just saw was uploaded by someone who went to a church in Mexico, and once the statue moved his head, the priest seemed to stumble on his words. He was so mystified by the moving statue. I would stumble on my words too. Actually, no. I would stop talking, dismiss everyone, and probably get the hell out of there. I don't think this is supposed to be some sort of miracle. I don't think I'd be around a moving Jesus statue, because statues aren't supposed to be moving here. I don't know how people could be so calm about this. Okay, moving into number 1 spot, we have a statue in a cemetery who opens and closes her eyes. I honestly don't know who has the time or energy to stand in a creepy cemetery to film statues, you know, moving all day. I think it's time for a more healthy and productive hobby because this one is actually kind of disturbing. But as you saw from the video, this stone statue was caught opening and closing her eyes, and I don't see how this is remotely possible because she is literally made from stone. Her eyelids aren't supposed to be able to move. The entire video is a minute long. If I was filming a statue and it blinked at me, I'm pretty sure I would drop my camera and run for my life. But no, this person actually decided to stick around for some reason. Like, that's why I believe this thing is not real. And at number 10 spot, we have a Virgin Mary statue whose lips appear to be moving during a prayer. You don't believe me? Well, let's roll the footage. If you look very closely at her lips, they actually do look like they're moving with the prayer, but a lot of people are arguing that it could be lighting or even a camera trick. I don't know what it is with religious statues caught moving on camera, but it happens in many churches and other religious locations. Do you guys think that the statue was really moving, or do you guys think this is a camera trick? Some people even say that churches claim that these statues are moving in order to attract more people into the church. I don't know about you, but that would not attract me. You're talking about a moving statue, I'm not going in. It's time to pray because things are getting even more scary, and at number 9, we have a cemetery statue that has been caught moving. I mean, is this real life right now? How is this statue not demolished and drenched in holy water? You gotta get the demon out of it. Whatever is making it move has to go. Well, apparently there's a statue located in Mount Olivet Cemetery in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is here in Canada. Well, it is known to be a dancing statue. It is believed that if you go to this scary cemetery at night and shine your car's headlight on the Jesus statue and then stare at him long enough, he will begin to dance. You're getting a dancing Jesus. First of all, what kind of person would visit a scary cemetery at night? And secondly, why would you wait for a creepy old statue to start dancing for you? Unless it was for YouTube or something, because, you know, we gotta get views on here somehow. You know what? I think there's a little bit of the instructions left out for you. There's actually 3 steps. The 3rd step is you have to take a hallucinogenic so you can see the statue move. Because other than that, I don't think he's going to move. I'm not sure if I believe this or if I believe any of this, but it is insane. And like I said, a lot of you guys are actually sending me footage of moving statues on my Twitter, Outline, and YouTube, and I'm enjoying it, but you guys are freaking me out. Making her way in at number 8 with another Virgin Mary statue, and it was caught moving on camera. And you know what? Let's see what the commotion is about with this one. Here's a video clip for you guys. Thousands of people have claimed that during a processional that they've witnessed this Virgin Mary statue moving in Tapio, Vietnam. They said that when the statue moved, her cloak began to float, and then she turned her head. And you know what? I think I'm gonna have to call BS on this video. I mean, it looks like a windy day, and the person filming this was extremely shaky. I'm more concerned that this person might be actually having a seizure instead of seeing whether or not the statue is really moving. I think our focus is on the wrong thing here. I don't know, I'm just saying. Okay, you know what? Let's change things up. In at number 7 with the moving Buddha statue. Let's watch the clip. Okay, did you guys see that? This giant Buddha statue's head looks like it was moving up and down. Some people in the comment section also said that you can actually see his lips moving slightly. So you know what? I kind of missed it. Let's take another look. I seriously don't know what to believe anymore. What is real? These statues are freaking me out, and we're not even halfway through this list, and I really hope we don't have to make a part 4 of this. Please don't demand it. I think I'm really gonna have to look through my house and remove any statue or just any figures that can possibly move, and we're gonna have a yard sale for other people who are interested in them. And I'll have a sign that says possessed items for sale, $500 a minimum. Our Lady of Guadalupe statue crying makes its way onto this list at number 6. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have a long cry after seeing this video because all these statues are scary. Well, thousands of people from around the world are coming to Hobbs Church to see a statue after they heard the Lady of Guadalupe statue started to cry during a mass. These religious people firmly believe that these tears are an act of God and that the statue is nothing short of a miracle. The priest at this church believed that the statue is weeping because of all of its recent violence that is happening in the United States from around the world. Her tears have been tested, and it was confirmed that her tears were made up of rose water, and as soon as you enter the church, you can actually smell it. I don't think I'm going to be buying a plane ticket anytime soon to, verify this. I'll just leave it out there, and I'll just believe it. Moving statues in Ireland makes its way onto this list at number 5. Alright, so moving statues have been a huge phenomenon in Ireland since the summer of 1985. What happened before that? I don't really know. Well, in several different parts of the country, statues of the Virgin Mary were reported to have moved spontaneously. In County Cork, a person claimed to have seen a roadside statue of the Virgin Mary moving on her own. After he went public with what he saw, there were similar occurrences that were reported shortly after in other parts of the country. Not all of these reports were of the Virgin Mary statue. Other people claimed that they have seen other divine statues moving in churches and on the mountainside. Despite the Catholic Church taking a spectacle stance, thousands of people visited Ireland each year to hopefully see one of these statues moving with their own eyes. Virgin Mary lips caught moving, and this brings us into number 4. I wasn't lying when I told you guys at the beginning of the video that a lot of these statues caught moving are religious statues. As you will see, majority of them are of the Virgin Mary statue. I wonder if it has any significance. It might. Well, as promised, let's take a look at the clip of this Virgin Mary statue moving her lips. I could clearly see her moving her lips. I don't know about you guys. Again, I'm not sure whether this is a camera or a lighting trick. I mean, for me to believe this, I really have to be there in person, and it has to be moving in real life. But if it moved, I would be running. As soon as it moved, I would just take off in fear. I bet this statue attracts a lot of people because they want to see it with their own eyes. One thing I notice a lot in the comment section of these videos is that a lot of people think that it is a sin to pray and worship statues. It's actually kind of scary in the comment section. There are a lot of people with really strong opinions on these religious figures caught moving on camera. Okay, next up, this one will freak you out. We have a Virgin Mary statue that grows taller, it smiles and cries. Well, the statue makes it into our list at number 3. A priest noticed that a statue originally made of fiberglass has turned into porcelain and grew taller by 7.5 centimeters. Is the statue going through a growth spurt? I mean, it seems to me the statue could have been swapped out by a prankster. Other people have claimed that the statue can also be seen smiling sometimes and also crying. I'm not a doctor, but I think this church has a bipolar statue on their hands. In all seriousness, the people who have seen this Virgin Mary statue in real life claim that she is a miracle and they feel different when they're looking at her. The priest who first noticed that the Virgin Mary statue was moving reported this to the Vatican in order to get the truth. Up next, and at our number 2 spot, we have the Virgin Mary statue crying. Yep, that's right. After this list, the Virgin Mary statue is going to be known as the crying statue. Seriously though, why are there so many Virgin Mary statues caught crying from around the world? Why aren't they happy? Isn't anyone else concerned? No? I guess it's just me then? So, you know what? Let's take a look at another example of the Virgin Mary statue crying because I have footage for you guys. Did anyone else see that teardrop on her chin and just have a really big urge to just wipe it off? I'm always skeptical when I see or hear about statues caught crying because I think that there's no way that an inanimate object is able to produce tears. I seriously just don't understand this phenomenon. How is this even possible, and why aren't there more experts assigned to get the truth behind all of these crying statues? We need more CSIs, or otherwise known as crying statue investigators. And finally, topping this list in at number 1, you guys guessed it, we have a Virgin Mary statue. Well, this one's actually falling over. Take a look at this shocking clip.
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment.
It's just something that you can't get anywhere else.
It's amazing to watch.
It's just the rush like no other.
Well, you know what? I think it's safe to assume that these people carrying the statue are going straight to hell. This Virgin Mary statue was literally decapitated during this processional. This must have been so traumatizing. Imagine you're in church on a Sunday because you're a good person and you're praying, and one of the most iconic religious figures just falls, and then you see decapitation right in front of you. That can't be a good sign. But as I watched this video over and over, I noticed something weird with her mouth. Let's take another look at the clip, but this time I want you guys to pay attention to her mouth. Okay, did you guys see her mouth open up? It's almost like she was screaming just as she was about to fall. This is almost too much to handle, and I'm really glad that this is the end of this video.
Starting off at number 10 now, we have Saint Padre Pio. In 2002, the statue of Padre Pio was said to begin shedding tears that some people believed was actually blood. A passerby first noticed it and alerted the local priest. They were unable to wipe away this red substance leaking from the eyes of the statue. As news traveled of this suspected miracle, hundreds came to see the statue in person. This happened just a few months before the Pope made Padre Pio a saint. Some people said this was the reason for this supernatural occurrence. At number 9 now, we have Cochabamba. During Holy Week in 1995, a church in Cochabamba, Bolivia, noticed that their statue of Jesus appeared to be shedding tears of blood. Believers claimed that the tears were tested in an Australian lab and found to contain real human blood. They also said the statue was totally hollow, which was proof that there was no tampering going on. According to locals, the Cochabamba Christ has wept blood every Good Friday since. At number 8 now, we have Los Naranjos. In April 2017, a video emerged online appearing to show the Virgin Mary crying tears of blood. The statue belonged to a man in the town of Los Naranjos in Argentina. The owner of the statue said he noticed the blood in March and said that Mary had visited him in a dream. The statue was then transferred to the local church for pilgrims to visit. An investigation was launched to look for a natural explanation before it was declared as a miracle. The local priest reminded everyone though to not jump to any conclusions. At number 7 now, we have Perth. In 2002, scientists in Australia failed to find the source of tears flowing from the eyes of a statue of the Virgin Mary. The statue was on display in a Catholic church in Perth. It was bought by Patty Powell from Bangkok 8 years before. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until one day it started dripping with a rose-scented oil-like substance. Visitors came from all over Australia to see it for themselves. The priest and many others claimed it was a miracle, but scientists conducted studies to determine exactly what this liquid was. Moving on to number 6 now, we have Fresno. In May 2016, Maria Cardenas from Fresno, California, said her statue of Mary had been crying. She said it all started a year and a half before when her cousin died. Apparently, Maria came home one day and said the statue's eyes were welling up with a liquid. She said it was tears, others said it could have been actual blood. Maria said she doesn't really understand why the statue was doing that, but believes it could be linked to her cousin's death. Overall, she saw the crying as something good. At number 5 now, we have La Madonna. Madonia. In February 95, the La Madonia statue, or Little Madonna, was said to weep tears of blood in the town of Pantano, Italy. The statue belonged to Fabio Gregori. He said that one morning he heard his 6-year-old daughter cry out that the statue was crying blood. Over the next few days, the crying was witnessed by dozens of witnesses, both believers and not. A commission of theologians claimed it as a supernatural event. Alright, at number 4 now, guys, we have Jalisco. In November 2016, a crying statue of the Virgin Mary was reported in the town of Jalisco in Mexico. A man there told TV crews that he saw blood coming out of the statue's glass eyes. This came just a few months after the preserved body of a child saint supposedly opened her eyes in the very same town. Alright, at number 3 now, we have Sacramento. In 2005, it was reported that the Vietnamese Catholic Church in Sacramento had a statue of Mary that was said to cry blood. The priest washed off what he assumed were just stains, but 10 days later, they reappeared. The statue is now placed outside the church for pilgrims to visit. Over the years, the rain rendered the tears as just a small smudge on the statue's face. Still, that doesn't stop people from visiting the statue even to this day. Moving on to number 2 now, we have Akita. In 1973, a convent in Akita, Japan, reported a strange happening with their statue of the Virgin Mary. A nun began having holy visions of angels and showed signs of stigmata on her hands, the same wounds that Jesus received during crucifixion. Blood also poured out from the statue's palms. Over the next 2 years, the statue was said to have produced rose-scented sweat and wept tears of blood 101 times, often in front of believers and even a television audience. And finally, number 1 now, we have another statue of Mary. In August 2016, it was reported that a statue of the Virgin Mary in Bolivia had been crying blood. The local priest claimed that the Virgin Mary statue was bleeding from its eyes and hands. Samples of the substance were sent off to be tested to see if it really was human blood. Churchgoers were hoping that this would be enough for the Vatican to announce it as a miracle. Starting off at number 10 now, we have Jesus. This video comes from the Chapel of Saltillo in Mexico. The camera person is filming a statue of Jesus, which is inside a glass box. As the camera zooms in, this happens. Jesus appears to open his eyes. The camera then pans off to the right for a moment, and after a few seconds, Jesus' eyes close. This clip blew up on social media, with some people saying it was a miracle, other people said there had to be some sort of explanation for it, but everyone was a little bit creeped out. One investigator said the clip had been examined for weeks by 20 different specialists who found no evidence that it had been tampered with. However, there have been many videos uploaded online claiming to prove that it is a fake. You guys should check it out and let me know what you think. At number 9 now, we have Snow White. Now, not much is known about this clip you're about to see, which kind of makes it creepier in a way. I can tell you that it's from Mexico during the 1990s. The person filming appears to be visiting some sort of kids theme park or exhibition at night that contains statues. He walks up to the Snow White one, apparently transfixed by just how creepy it looks. Well, it got a lot creepier when this happened. What? Obviously, the guy freaked out. I would too. He ran away, so we never got another look at Snow White. The whole thing is still a mystery. Perhaps that's why this clip has been viewed over 500,000 times. Alright, at number 8 now, we have the ancient Egyptian. I'm sure you guys have all heard of the ancient Egyptian curses, right? They say that removing artifacts from the tombs there will bring terror and death to those involved. Well, staff at the Manchester Museum in England were a little bit nervous when they noticed one of their statues appeared to have moved. They installed a camera to watch it, and this is what they saw. One of their 3,800-year-old statues was slowly spinning round throughout the day as the museum's visitors streamed by. They think the reason was that the visitors' footsteps had caused minute vibrations that nudged the statue out of place. Other people still argue that this wouldn't be possible, and it's actually a sign of some sort of ancient curse. Coming in at number 7 now, we have the moving Buddha, or Buddha, I guess, if you're North American. In 2013, reports started coming out from Malaysia that there were moving Buddhist statues. Video was taken by the crowds who witnessed the event. They say it shows one statue moving its lips and blinking. Soon after that, other statues started to do the same. Apparently they were even moving their fingers though at one point, although we don't get to see that in the video. Critics of this say that the video could have been manipulated, especially as it is such poor quality. However, the crowds of people there that day might have something to say about that. What do you guys think? Next up at number 6 now, we have the floating statue. In the summer of 1985, 100,000 people visited a statue of Mary in a small Irish village. The statue was nothing out of the ordinary until a few locals there said they had seen it floating in the air. Then, a few dozen people showed up. Then hundreds and finally thousands went to see this event. When it all started, the local police sergeant was very skeptical. He went down there to check it out, and sure enough, there it was, floating. He was convinced it must have been a hoax, something to do with wires perhaps. He went and checked behind the statue and found nothing. When he tried to move the statue himself, it wouldn't even budge. Now critics say there isn't enough evidence for this and that it could have actually been a trick of the light. Interesting story either way. Coming in at number 5 now, we have Sai Baba. Now he was an Indian spiritual master who is known to Indian Hindus and Muslims for his teachings on shunning materialism and living a life of love and inner peace. In 2016, a statue of him appeared to practice these very teachings. Whenever believers would put garlands of flowers on him to pay their respects, it would always end up broken off from him. The temple owners set up a camera, and this is what they saw. Now critics say the explanation for this is simple, it's just gravity. The garlands were simply slipping off the statue. But believers still say you can clearly see the statue's shoulders moving. You guys have seen the clip now, what do you make of it? Alright, next up at number 4 now, we have Crying Mary. In early 2017, in the town of Los Naranjos in Argentina, a statue of the Virgin Mary appeared to cry blood. Now here is the video showing the statue in question. Some locals called it a miracle, while others said it was some kind of punishment and they were very scared. Priest Ricardo Quiroga urged everyone to remain calm, but also said if she cries again, we need to do something at a high level in the church. An investigation team was launched to find out whether this phenomenon was a hoax or a potential miracle.
Fuck it, we're gonna see how it plays
Now
out.
we have Jesus 2. Yeah, I'm gonna call this one Jesus 2 because we've already had a Jesus one. In April 2017, a video from Mexico started circulating online of a statue of Jesus that appeared to move during a service. This happened in the state of Jalisco during their Good Friday Mass. See what you think. Did you guys catch that? Well, here it is in slow motion. Immediately, members of the church started saying it was a miracle. However, even the priest stayed skeptical and said it could have been the ropes that hold the statue up coming loose. Coming in at number 2 now, we have jinn. Now a jinn is a supernatural creature in Arabic mythology. It's where we get our word genie from. They are said to be good, neutral, or evil, just like humans. Here we have a video uploaded in June 2017 that claims to show a jinn possessing a Hindu statue through its eyes. Now as you watch the clip, notice how the statue's eyes appear to move, almost as if it was watching the camera person or even the person watching this video. One of the most creepy things about this video is that there is little explanation for who filmed it or even what happened to them after the
What the
video.
fuck is a Marmal,
Some
bro?
claim it's an optical illusion, while others agree with the uploader that we're seeing something demonic in this video. And finally, at number 1 now, we have the cloak. This clip comes from early 2016 in Vietnam. Locals in Ta Pau noticed that a statue of Mary on top of a hill appeared to be moving. Here you can see the clip with the subtitles of what they are saying. Now they appear to be focused on her moving cloak. It does appear to move, that's for sure, but this is an incredibly grainy piece of footage. Aside from the video, all we really have to go on is the adamant reactions of the people who witnessed this and the verifying by other locals that this is in fact a known solid statue. The debate around this video is part of the reason that it has amassed over 700,000 views. What do you guys think?
If you're a retail investor like me, this can be a real game changer for you. With
Here we go.
Saving Alpha
Another
Beta,
statue
you
out
can
there.
learn from dozens of contributing analysts all around the world.
Just how we are affecting this change. Studies have now shown a sharp rise in the populations of African elephants without tusks. Why? Well, because of poaching, of course. Poachers killed so many elephants with tusks, especially during the Mozambican Civil War from 1977 to 1992, which left the females without tusks more likely to pass on their genes. Another more indirect way that humans are impacting animal evolution is with the changes that we are experiencing in the climate. A study from Trends in Ecology and Evolution has shown that bats are growing to have bigger wings and rabbits are growing to have longer ears, and these are both likely to dissipate more heat into the surrounding area and cool them down. A study in Science Advances suggested that 77 species of birds found in a remote patch of the Amazon rainforest were found to weigh less and have longer wings, most likely as a result of rising temperatures as well as the changes in the rainfall pattern. In our number 6 spot today, we have the early humans. This scientific breakthrough involves one of the earliest human species, Neanderthals. Some very cool paleontologists from Madrid created a 3D model of the ear structure of Neanderthals. That alone is just an unbelievable sentence. Scientists in 2021 recreated the ear structures of an early human species that lived 130,000 to 40,000 years ago. And that's not even the wild, crazy discovery. I love science. So, they created these 3D models, and it made them then realize that Neanderthals may have had the ability to speak and hear just like Homo sapiens, which is of course the modern human species. Every year we uncover more and more data and material that challenges what we once thought we knew about the early humans. It is so fascinating and interesting to watch it all unfold. In our number 5 spot today, we have Early Humans Part 2. Remember when I just said 2 seconds ago that every year we learn more that changes what we once believed about the early humans and the history of humans? Well, here's another one. In September of 2021, a study dated footprints that were found in the White Sands National Park, and they were said to be from 21,000 to 23,000 years old. For those of you sitting there being like, well, how could they possibly know how old footprints are? These prints, referred to as the ghost prints, were dated by using radiocarbon dating of the dried ditch grass seeds that were found both above and below the footprints. The reason why this dating was important is because prior to this, many archaeologists placed the start of human life in the Americas at around 13,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, and this was based on tools that were found in New Mexico. The paper that published this information, which, just for transparency, has been debated by some, suggests that humans actually lived on the continent during the ice age, which of course changes a lot. A month after this find, there was a study published in Nature that showed evidence of Vikings living in North America earlier than what was once thought. The researchers got to this conclusion by examining cut wood and finding samples of a cosmic ray event that happened in 993 CE. This is definitely a couple of discoveries that are still unfolding and being examined and looked into further, but it's all very interesting.
What are you doing?
Spot today we have quantum computing. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is a discovery that I know very little about, if I even know anything on the topic at all, so bear with me as I try to do my best to explain. To my understanding, quantum computers do in seconds what the best supercomputers would take days or weeks to complete and process. These quantum computers use the laws of quantum physics, which is the thing I know nothing about, to get these incredible processing capabilities, which completely changes the game for a multitude of things like meteorology, cybersecurity, national defense, the list just goes on. Okay, so how does this relate to a 2021 moment? Well, in November of last year, IBM launched the 127 Qubit Eagle, which is the most powerful quantum processor ever. Then a company called Quantinum launched a cloud-based cybersecurity platform called Quantum Origin. Meanwhile, I'm in 2022 still trying to figure out what the cloud is. This is said to set the stage for quantum computing to start rapidly evolving, so I guess I'm gonna need to catch up. In our number 3 spot today, we have Heart of Titanium. With the understanding that heart disease takes an estimated 17.9 million lives around the world every year, it makes a lot of sense that for over 50 years, doctors have been trying to find a way to build an artificial heart, and 2021 saw us getting the closest we've ever been. An Australian research team called Bivacor built a titanium heart that uses something called spinning disk technology. Basically, it of course doesn't operate like a normal human heart, but instead it tries to one-up and improve the regular old evolution perfected human heart and give it an even better way to pump blood around the body. It has a circular pump that is suspended between 2 magnets that lives inside of this titanium heart. Right now, there has yet to be a full human trial, which makes sense. These things take a lot of time, and it's certainly better not to rush them. The promising news, though, is that the artificial heart has been successful so far in both scenarios in animal trials, as well as when used temporarily on heart transplant patients. In our number 2 spot today, we have coral reefs. Whether you believe in climate change or not, we can all agree that in the last few decades or so, we've seen a lot of natural disasters. From forest fires to droughts and heat waves. Maybe this is a result of climate change, maybe this is just how things go. I'm not here to argue with you, I'm just here to tell tell you about how this uptick in natural disasters affects our planet, more specifically our coral reefs. These kinds of disasters and just the general climate of the Earth has an impact on the temperature of the oceans. This change in temperature has caused the reefs, which we forget are living things, to cast out this kind of symbiotic algae that helps them survive, which is then causing the reefs to bleach and then die. In 2021, a huge report was published from the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network that showed that the oceans had lost about 14% of their reefs in the last decade. Then another study was later published that showed that there was less than 2% of the Great Barrier Reef that was able to escape bleaching since 1998. And this was all published just months after a different study that suggested that half of all coral reefs have been lost since the 1950s. Unfortunately, our coral reefs are in a lot of danger right now, and it affects more than just the ecology of the ocean. It will also impact us as humans. It impacts fisheries, tourism, coastal developments. I'm not saying that all of these are good reasons to care, but if they're the ones that get someone interested, then I guess it's something worth mentioning. In our number one spot today, we have the fireball. On February 28th, 2021, reports came pouring in from across the UK of an unusual streak of light that was seen in the sky. These reports were far behind the UK's Fireball Alliance, though, as their cameras had already picked up the signal and they were already in the midst of estimating its landing.
Listen, there's a good chance somebody's trying to hack your website right now. You gotta make sure you're covered.
Site. That's right, this streak of light was a meteor. It's a remnant of our early solar system that has been flying through space at unbelievable speeds until it came down through our atmosphere and ended its long, awesome journey scattered in a bunch of pieces across rural Gloucestershire. Teams were sent out to be responsible for the recovery of the extraterrestrial material, which was found in a family's driveway as well as in a sheep's field nearby. This meteorite is a rare specimen known as primitive carbonaceous chondrite, which is said to contain materials that have been essentially unaltered since the formation of the solar system 4.5 billion years ago. The pieces of this meteorite can give us insights into the building blocks of the planets, and it can potentially give us clues as to how the Earth came to be this wonderful planet that possesses all of the resources necessary to sustain human life.
Kicking off the list at number 10, the stellar sea cow. Stellar indeed. Okay, the stellar sea cow was named after George Wilhelm Steller, who discovered this massive creature in 1741 during the Vitus Bering's Great Northern Expedition. They found her right after the crew became shipwrecked. What a lovely surprise to an otherwise horrible situation. They were around over 2.6 million years ago, and they were no match for humans. They only swam about 1 meter deep, and once humans came into the picture with, hunting and aggression and everything, they were quite easy to hunt. George Steller commented that the animals had an uncommon love for their families, which in turn made it even easier for us to hunt them. Considering the 1-year gestation period, the species just couldn't reproduce fast enough to keep up with our hunting. But this list, we have a little hope now, don't we? Scientists were able to sequence the genome, which could mean we could see the creature again one day. Hopefully. The answer may lie right now in the DNA of a dugong. Dugongs are the cow of the sea. You know what? They're great. Let's have all the cows of all seas back immediately. Number 9, passenger pigeons. The passenger pigeon once ruled the skies over Canada as recently as the 19th century. Billions of these bright orange birds would just paint the skies. They would fly in flocks so large it would block out the sun for a short amount of time. Isn't that beautiful? It's like some Lion King stuff right there. But only a few decades passed and passenger pigeons are now no more. So what happened? Well, the very last passenger pigeon, her name was Martha. She passed away in the Cincinnati Zoo back in 1914, so we took a look at her DNA to see if Martha held any secrets to her extinction. They discovered Martha had a low genetic diversity for such a growing population. Natural selection and hunting obviously just eliminated the coolest looking bird out there by far. A little different than the pigeons we have today, that's for sure. The last one died in 1914, but in 2019, paleontologists found remains of the pigeon protected in indigenous lands in Canada, up in Northwest Territories. They blended passenger pigeon DNA with Archaeopteryx dinosaur DNA. Yeah, we're bringing back pigeons with a hint of dinosaur. What could go wrong? Number 8, the woolly mammoth. It was announced only months ago that a team of scientists and entrepreneurs over at a company called Colossal are planning to bring the woolly mammoth back to life. That's just the thing we need right now in this world. Out of all the problems, we're like, you know what could solve it? The woolly mammoth, for sure. That'll bring jobs back. The Siberian tundra thousands of years ago was once full of these woolly mammoths, but climate change began to slow them down just a little bit. And humans also so that surely didn't help. These guys provided warmth and, well, look at them. Obviously, a lot of food. Genetics company Colossal raised over $15 million to try and bring this thing back to life. Honestly, I hope it works, but then, I mean, now what? All these things are great scientifically, but it's like, and then what? Number 7, the dodo bird. Speaking of the devil, we're definitely gonna eat these guys. Dodo birds were once big and beautiful. These flightless ground nesting birds once filled the island of
What are you
Manatees
messing with?
in the Indian Ocean. They had massive talons, they were big, gray, and blue, and they didn't have any natural predator, which is pretty sweet. They didn't have one until we came along. Around 1507, the
He said
island was discovered by
Ebola.
Portuguese sailors, and well, the rest is history. They were the easiest bird to hunt, hence the
You wanna see the
phrase,
game? Come
"Hunt
here.
the dodo." They weren't just loved by sailors either. We're not just 100% here to blame.
Come
You
here.
know, monkeys, rats, pigs, any animal that made it
Ronnie.
to the island easily had their eggs for lunch. So yeah, it didn't take a long time for the dodo bird population to be completely wiped out. The last dodo was hunted in 1681, but can we bring back the dodo bird? Are we doing it? I think we're gonna do it. Scientists found an extremely well-preserved dodo skeleton back in 2007, so we may have a chance at picking some DNA apart here.
That's
A
you.
research facility near Melbourne, Australia is currently trying to use pigeon genes to bring this bird back to life. I mean, I'm all for the idea of bringing back an animal. Scientifically, that's a feat in itself, but do we really think nobody's gonna make dodo chicken wings? I'm just saying. That's just a problem waiting to happen. Number 6, Pyrenean ibex. The last Pyrenean ibex was a female named Celia. A falling tree sadly killed her in 2000. She was a subspecies of the Spanish ibex. The Pyrenean ibex were native to the Pyrenees Mountains on the border of Spain and France, as her name hints towards. Back in the medieval ages, though, their population was reduced drastically to an endangered level. So it wasn't just recently, it was way back, you know, because of, again, we got hungry. They were all over the place, and knights and swords and bows and armies to feed. They were hunted down, sadly. Disease spread by humans also played an important role in their demise during this time. The Pyrenean ibex was successfully cloned and brought back from extinction for 7 minutes. So we actually did this one. DNA from the last living lady was implanted in the womb of a domestic goat.
I don't even know where I'm going right now. We just gotta figure it out.
Listen to what I just said.
We gonna figure it out, pimp.
7 minutes is a start. I think I can handle a clone of myself for 7 minutes.
We gonna figure it out.
Number 5, Tasmanian tiger. Once native to Australia, the Tasmanian
Look
tiger,
at that. Oh, look at that.
also
The
known as
flame.
thylacine, it was a massive carnivorous
flame.
marsupial that went extinct around the 1930s. Major factors here,
Yeah.
as you guessed, climate change,
Beat 'em up.
hunting, and its genetic diversity wasn't all too great. It was sad on one hand because these beautiful creatures disappeared so recently, but it's recent enough that we have a shot at bringing them back. So we're like, but maybe. Yeah, imagine looking outside and seeing this thing on your front yard.
Look at that big frog. Look at
Still
him.
remain
Smash,
preserved in
smash.
jars. Thank God for those jars. By the time we open those things up, right? All those jar guys are like, finally.
Big froggy that beat up.
Maybe have
I
some of the
beat him up.
Tasmanian tiger genes present after scientists inserted them into a mouse fetus. The Australian Museum has been
It's
working hard to
flame.
bring this beast back to life. They're only still lacking the DNA to fully recreate it. So if you have any jars of Tasmanian tiger parts, you know, help us out. Hit those thumbs. Number 4,
Got him.
the great auk. Once
I didn't think that was
thriving
gonna reach
colonies
that
off the
far.
North Atlantic coasts, the great auk would grow to 30 inches long.
Got
Its tiny
him.
wings would be only used to swim. Had little tiny, little wings. The wings were much
What are
smaller,
those penguins?
13 centimeters long. Little flappy arms. No wonder they couldn't fly. Look at these things. Oh my God.
Inside,
They were
everybody
cute,
can
but
go.
obviously they were quite defenseless. Around the 1500s, European fishermen discovered this perfect area for hunting, and it just happened to be where most of these great auks were hanging out. Newfoundland looked like the iceberg from Club Penguin, and then we just rolled in and we're like, ho ho ho, we are
He
so
was
lucky.
with him. Well, he thought he was.
And by 1950, the last
He
2
thought he was.
specimens
Then I had to
were
put the
hunted by
poles on.
on LD Island.
Those are, I forgot the name of those
Scientists plan
birds.
on using genetic information
They
extracted
kind of
from
look
their
like
fossils or preserved organs. Remember those jars of organs always coming in handy.
Mm.
They plan on editing their DNA in the closest living species, which is now the razor-billed auk. The organization Revive and Restore is behind the wheel on this one, and I'm hoping they pull through. Number 3, the moa. This New Zealand bird went extinct about 600 years ago. Moa were these flightless birds,
That's a
massive,
mogul.
might I add, and archaeologists first discovered its fossil in a cave.
This is the next part of the board.
That's the gross part. These ancient birds
Oh, yeah?
can reach about 5 feet
Oh,
tall,
the bug-
and when you think of dinosaurs,
Oh, the
you
bug-
probably think that's quite petite in comparison.
Yeah, that's you.
These birds
That's us over there. It's recording what we're doing. Oh no.
from the Australian National University in Canberra, these birds safely roam the land
That's a
after
big
the
mofo.
make
He
these
about to
area
he about to try to
domes in the
rinse
sky. They walked around
like a
flew
wet
about,
cow.
and would hang out in caves.
Ooh, he got
Honestly, pretty
him.
ideal. Phillips says this is an advantage when it
I'm
comes
in
to
that.
bird evolution because wings, be it big or small,
Yeah.
kill energy. So it might seem a little depressing to watch a creature lose the ability to fly, but it's because they're eating good. They're comfortable now. Scientists have now found more moa DNA from ancient eggshells, so it's possible that we may see these fatties soar the skies once again. Number 2, Megatherium. aka giant.
Oh, did I just figure out something? Oh, fuck, he walked away. If he'd have stayed there, I could have probably got him.
Sloths used to be a lot.
I'm about to wear him out right now. Anyway, I'm about to beat him like he stole some.
Yeah, they sure didn't help their case. Now, of course, the giant ground sloth is closely related to our modern three-toed
Come on
sloth.
to you now, fool.
For us, today's
Hey,
sloths
fool. Hey, fool.
aren't that big. They're not the same size as an elephant. Which
Oh, what's up? Come on,
horror film. If a giant elephant-sized sloth,
no matter how big they is, you rumble.
slowly, might I add,
Oh, what's up?
be sick. We may be able to bring this one back, although they died off 8,000 years ago. DNA samples were extracted from their hair remains, so the next step now is to develop a fetus in an artificial womb. That's the hard part. That's where science and technology might just do the rest. But as of right now, he's got a pile of hair. We're like, maybe. And finally, number 1, the gastric brooding frog. I'm a big fan of frogs and toads, all that stuff. Except for when they hatch eggs out of their back. That's arguably the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Silly.
These gastric brooding frogs would swallow their eggs and then hatch them out of their
They
mouth.
silly.
So if you watch them give birth in reverse, it would be
I don't even got time. We fucking up.
They went extinct back in 1983, but scientists have figured out how to implant these dead cells into a fresh egg from an entirely different frog species. Let's just hope these new ones are born out of your back. And here's the list at number 10, SS Garsopa. We'll kick off this deep sea part 3 with a ship. I think I have thalassophobia. These are part 3. I got chills looking at these photos, honestly. SS Garsopa was once a thriving British cargo ship. Back in 1941, during World War II, the cargo ship was en route, returning from India carrying a pretty nice amount of silver. It was a lot of silver, an alarming amount of silver. A storm rolled in, so the captain made a quick decision, knowing what was on board, to avoid the rough waters as much as possible. So the ship changed direction and started heading towards Ireland. Again, this was 1941 during World War II, so not a great time to head that direction. The ship was spotted by a German plane, and a U-boat later claimed the lives of the SS Garsopa's 85 passengers. News traveled quickly, and once the war came to an end, a few divers checked out the area. There was nothing. Now fast forward to 2011, Odyssey Marine's team found the ship. 14,000 feet below the surface, surrounded by just pure darkness. The team kept around 80% of the treasure found, and the rest went to Her Majesty's Treasury. In case you were wondering, there was around $150 million worth of treasure found. Yeah, if you can do it, then go, grab it, sure. It's like one of those things where someone's like, hey, you want $150 million? Go into this deep, dark, scary thing. Would you do it? Ram's horn squid. This little squishy dude was discovered around 3,000 feet below the surface, and scientists cannot stop talking about the way he moves. Look at him, he looks like a really slow submarine, which is pretty amazing when you think about the Schmitz Ocean ROV that's down there getting split. Also a submarine. How funny is that? He's looking at him, he's looking at them, they're like, what? He's like, what? They're all just both wiggling, trying to balance each other out. He acts like a submarine's ballast does. Fluids and gases shipped around, and in return, this little guy can float up and down. I never thought a squid would be cute until now. Didn't know that was a possibility. Yet here we are. Part 3. Number 8. Catherine Sullivan. Not really a deep sea discovery, but I mean, when talking about all these discoveries, you gotta ask, who goes down there? Who does the thing, right? When an entertainer wins an Oscar, Emmy, Tony, and Grammy, we call that an EGOT. Fun little title only a handful of artists can claim. But what about somebody who's been to both space and the deepest part of our Earth? What do we call them? Well, so far, them is just one individual. Her name's Catherine Sullivan. The former NASA astronaut decided to change up directions for this trip, so she joined Victor Vescovo on one of his 8 trips to the deepest known point on Earth. July 7th, 2020, Catherine Sullivan officially became the first person to do both. Go out there and down there. That's crazy. Your Fitbit's like, what are you doing? What's happening? How many steps is this? What can we call this impressive title? EGOT? A deep got? A deep go-getter? A deep go-getter? Yeah, you're a deep go-getter. That sounds awful. We're doing our best here. Maybe part 4 will have a fun name. It's impressive. It's so impressive my ears hurt thinking about all these commutes. Bravo. Hats off to you. Number 7. Holy grail of shipwrecks. Okay, back to shipwrecks. It's hard to read up on these shipwrecks sometimes, well, all the time, because on one hand, it's fascinating to discover parts of our history we thought was once lost forever. Of course, we find tons of treasure that's always fun and noteworthy, but we're also exploring the scene of a horrible wreck every single time. It's quite grim, not on paper. In 1708, the San Jose galleon was heading to Spain from Colombia, but when the British attacked, the San Jose sank to the ocean floor, and nearly all 600 crew members lost their lives. Yeah, dark history. In 2015, the ship was found with around $17 to $22 billion worth of plundered valuables. See, back in the 80s, Glocamora Company claimed they had found the ship. Colombia was lacking the financial and technological resources to dive down and actually get it, so they agreed to give GMC 35% of the findings. In 1984, they then handed the claim over to an American company, sea search armada. Then the game changed. Since then, and still to this day, legal battles have been unfolding over this lost treasure. COVID delayed it quite a bit, so if you can hold your breath for a really long time, it's still waiting there. No one knows what to do with it yet. I'm like, see ya, be right back. Number 6, the Vasa shipwreck. Back in 1628, the Vasa sunk within 20 minutes of setting sail, and it claimed the lives of 30 souls on board. How tragic is that? Only 20 minutes and it was gone. The Swedish Navy launched the ship August 10th, 1628. It's considered a high-tech warship, even referred to as spectacular. So what happened? How did this thing sink in 20 minutes? That's crazy. Well, the first rush of wind caught it off guard, and a swayed it. The second rush of wind sank it. There's got to be more. There was a crowd around and everything to send it off, but the 64 bronze cannons that were installed during the rushed process of building the ship were too heavy. That's why it sank. And the lack of oxygen in the water allowed for its rediscovery to continue its story. The Vasa was built with carvings all around the wood, carvings centered around the king of the time, King Gustav II. So when the wreck was rediscovered in 1961, 95% of the wood was still intact, so it still tells a story. Number 5, under the ice. This dark discovery was pretty recent. Recent as in October 2021. The Hakon project is one I would never sign up for personally, but I'm surprised it's taken this long to do something along these lines. The Hakon project is a group of around 30 scientists. They teamed up to send a deep-sea robot 13,000 feet below the icy surface of the Arctic Ocean. This was the first time we got to see the hidden volcanic vents that have been hiding for centuries, because obviously it's that deep and that cold, and now we have the resources and people who are brave enough to go and camp out in the Arctic to go explore. That's crazy. Number 4, ancient Greek shipwreck. I remember hearing about this back in 2018, so I'm excited I get to throw it on a list. The oldest shipwreck discovered in the Black Sea. It looks like it sank 50 years ago.
Ask your healthcare provider about Ozempic.
But actually his ship was
Be 50 funky ass
It's
dollars.
an ancient Greek trading vessel and it's not very large, but somehow this thing is very
50
mighty.
funky.
2005
Come on,
years
bro.
later, over a mile below the surface, the lack of oxygen again actually preserved this ship. That's why it looks not ancient. John Adams, principal investigator of the Black Sea Marine Archaeology Project, described
That's 7 out.
findings
Really
as
got to
something
fight.
we never thought was even possible. Yeah, more than fair. That long ago, we're still trying to figure out the pyramids. We're like, oh my god, this thing's just chilling there the whole time. Just a fish is staring at it. This discovery changed what we knew about seafaring in the ancient world. The oldest intact shipwreck known to mankind. That's not a bad title. Another 2,000 years we'll find nothing but plastic on the bottom of our oceans. Number 3, underwater river. We've heard about this one at some point, I'm sure, but how is this even a real thing? How is this possible? What are we looking at? What is this? Back in 2016, researchers working in the Black Sea found these very strong currents. Currents of water flowing at the bottom of the sea like its own river, almost. If this 115-foot deep river was on land instead of, well, under the Black Sea, it would be ranked number 6 in the world for the amount of volume alone that's constantly rushing through it. So pretty impressive. The river carries heavy sediments along the
I'm
seafloor.
touching my hands, bro.
And yeah, over time those
Bro.
creatures carve out their own path.
That's not. No. Leave that one. That's for the picture. We gonna.
Luckily for us,
Matter of fact, yeah, you get that. There's nothing on that.
Fall in anytime soon. Number 2, deep waste. I mentioned some deep sea plastic on this channel before.
Right.
2021
Right for it.
pun intended. Right off the coast of LA.
Look at that big head jump.
Below the ocean's surface, sitting there for quite a long time, were literal barrels of garbage, just waste. The fluid evil coming off these things also, it looks like a nuclear wasteland. Probably because it is a literal nuclear wasteland.
Yeah.
How horrible is that? There weren't 30 or 40 of these barrels.
We got
also,
go
in case you're wondering.
eat 'em up.
Around 27,000 were found. 2 weeks of searching with subs. What a sad expedition
Oh,
that must
shit.
have been. Oh my. These barrels were dropped
Wagwan, eh? Wagwan.
1947 to around 1961. That's the window of time. You'd think
Wagwan.
barrel 5,000, somebody would be like,
Yo, I'm just stuck right here, B.
I don't know. And finally, number 1, beneath a glacier. We had to end this part 3 on some new glacier. And this glacier also
Hit me with the uwa.
is the size
Hit me
of
with
Florida.
some
So
shit.
you're imagining like a big ice
Come
cube.
on, move, car.
Just a little bit. This is like finding
Car not doing what I want car to do.
massive. And we set a rover underneath all of it. How scary is that? If it were to collapse, our sea level
They
would rise
cheesing.
12 feet, just to give you an idea of how big it is. And in 2019, researchers
What?
flew
How do I
2,000
attack
feet
it?
right through the Thwaites Glacier and dropped a robot with a camera down, and they just roamed around. And they saw this. This is the first time we've ever seen the grounding zone of a massive glacier. There's only 1 meter.
Dude, you know what? I got something for you.
Could you go down there? I don't think I could. I would swim underneath it and pretend like I'm lifting it up, you know? Just kidding. I wouldn't even get into the submarine to go down this hole. Not a chance. Also, can we not drill through a glacier the size of Florida? Just sounds like a bad idea. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe leave this project alone.
Starting off this countdown, we have the secret underground community. Believe it or not, but there is a group of urban explorers that like to hang out in the Paris catacombs. They call themselves the Cataphiles, and they sneak into the tunnels, evade the police, and then go exploring. In fact, they
Oh,
have
he's
claimed
ugly.
a number of sections as their own, marking it with murals and graffiti. Not only that, but
Oh,
they
he's
have
means here.
found secret ways to get into the catacombs. Plus, they've started mapping the whole place out so that other explorers don't get lost. Only problem is that this is a very dangerous hobby. Since they are entering restricted areas in the catacombs,
Who
they
got
have
it?
to watch out for walking
Because I'm cool like that. I'm cool like that. What you doing? What you in your mans, B?
spot, we have the Lost Girl.
What you in your
In
mans,
2005, a
B?
group of teens illegally snuck into the
Oh, run,
catacombs
run,
for
run, run,
years.
run.
Sadly, they all didn't make it out alive. They all were drinking and having a blast when one of their friends, Masha, wandered off
You
alone.
trying to do me like
When they finally
Ricky?
realized she had disappeared, they went out looking for her but couldn't find her. No one knew what happened to her until 4
Man, what's
months
up,
later.
huh?
That's when a group of boys were exploring the catacombs when they stumbled upon her
This is
frozen
not
body.
doing me.
Since she was drunk,
Because
she
my
wandered
magic
off
is-
to another section of the catacombs and then got lost and froze to death. How heartbreaking. Coming in at number 8, we have Philibert Aspel. Philibert Aspel was a doorkeeper at the Val de Grace Hospital during the French Revolution. And the hotel actually had a staircase located in the courtyard that would lead to the catacombs. So one night in November of 1793, Philibert descended into the catacombs to retrieve a bottle of
What?
liquor stored down there. However,
That's
he brought
bullshit.
with him, and it was not enough to light the way.
Bro.
Eventually, it blew out, and he was down there in pitch black. Being
I got some
semi-intoxicated, he
here.
stumbled around the catacombs lost. For 11 years, no one knew what happened to him. That was until 1804, when his body was found. He was identified by the hospital keyring hanging from his belt. Moving on, number 7, we have
What's
the
your next
Whispering
move?
Palace. A number of explorers have claimed that no one should ever be in the Paris catacombs after midnight. For if you are, then the walls will begin to speak. People have claimed to have heard disembodied voices coming from the catacombs. These voices confuse them and try to persuade them to travel deeper and deeper
Listen.
into the catacombs until you're in too far that you're lost and you can't escape. Actually,
Listen.
fun fact, they use this as inspiration for the
Another
movie As
one.
Above, So Below, which
Oh, you
takes
got me.
place in the Paris catacombs. In our 6th spot today, we have the camera system. In 2004, French police explored some of the restricted areas of the Paris catacombs.
Oh, he got me with that stupid
And that's when they
poison.
discovered something truly terrifying.
That's us on
They
screen.
found a PA system that
We
would
on
trigger
screen,
replay
baby.
sounds of guard dogs barking. Then they found a full-on bar, living area, workshop, lounge, and cinema with space to fit 20 people. Like what? Not only that, but whoever created this little
Hold on,
home
wait, you
setup
know what?
was stealing other
Let me
people's
see something because if slangs works, I'm going to be so stupid.
and the police
I'm
soon
going to
realized
feel
that they were being
so
watched.
bad.
They left to get a bigger team to further
Hey,
investigate
yo.
the area, but by the time they got back, everything was gone. The only thing left was a
Hey,
note
yo, you
that
see
read,
that?
"Don't search." We're now at our 5th and half.
This is your brain on.
This
Run!
is the name of a very mysterious man. We don't know much about him, but
Smack,
we do
smack.
know that he was a veteran of the French army.
Oh, alright, but I know what to do with it.
In fact, he created a number
Smack,
of
smack.
sculptures for the catacombs.
It's your man, Joe, me,
However,
B.
this eventually led to his death. During the construction of one of his sculptures,
It's
part
your
of
man,
it fell
Joe, me,
and
B.
crushed him completely. It's said that to this day, his soul wanders the
Oh, that's
catacombs.
bullshit.
In fact, people have seen him down there before. In our 4th spot today, we have the Crypt of Passions. The Crypt of Passions, located in the ossuary, is a pillar that is covered in skulls and it's just completely concealed. The skulls end up forming what looks like a barrel, which
Yeah,
is
I said
creepy for a number of
that.
reasons. Just take in, those are real skulls. You're surrounded by people who used to be living,
Ooh.
and most of them died in tragic ways. And then their bones were used for an art display. A number of people who have visited this area in the catacombs have reported feeling very uneasy around the Crypt of Passion. It's believed that some of the souls that were placed there have not
That's
found
bullshit.
peace. I mean, in some cultures,
stop.
they believe that a proper burial must be done
That's
with
you,
a
the door.
tomb marker, or else the soul will never be able to rest or go to the afterlife. However, that was not
What's
possible
gotta
at
be
the
done to
time.
fuck
The catacombs were built because grave overcrowding was a serious issue back then, among other things. In our 3rd spot today, we have these scratch marks. There's this really creepy area in the Paris catacombs where it's just a wall of
Yo, shut
scratches.
up.
Like, it looks as if bodies rose from the dead and tried to scratch their way out. It's a creepy touch to the place, that's for sure. Moving on to number 2, we have the law of this urban legend before, and in fact it also inspired the movie As Above, So Below. And it might not even be a legend, it might be real, but to this day, no one knows. Once upon a time in 1990, a weird dusty camcorder was discovered in the catacombs. The camera appeared to have been there for quite some time, so they decided to inspect it. What was found on it was very disturbing. The video was of an unidentified male explorer wandering around the catacombs. While down there, we see him interacting with the skulls around him. But then something spooks the man, and he ends up growing paranoid and panicked. At one point, he drops the camera and just runs away. Sadly, he never made it out alive. This tape contains the final moments of his life. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the criminals. In 2017, it was discovered that a group of robbers used the catacombs to break into an apartment. Basically, they figured out that the catacombs were right under an apartment vault. So they drilled their way in through the limestone and entered the apartment to steal over 300 bottles of vintage wine. In total, they valued at close to 250,000 euros. Isn't that insane?
Oh, jeez, dude, right there. This game cheesing, bro.
Wanna be like me? Always, every day.
Earthquake detector. In 132 AD, a man named Zhang Hen was able to create the first earthquake detector called the seismoscope. Far ahead of its time, this creation was incredibly accurate and is actually comparable in efficiency to those that we use now. Apparently, in 138, this tool detected an earthquake that was a ways away, and at the time nobody believed it and dismissed the warning. A few days later, a messenger arrived and asked for help, which confirmed that this thing really did accurately detect an earthquake and where it was coming from. Researchers still aren't sure exactly how it works, which is so crazy, but I guess some things are just meant to be a mystery. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Gangkar Quensum. This mountain is the largest mountain that has been unclimbed by humans and stands at a height of 7,570 meters or 24,836 feet. Studies and measurements of this mountain started 100 years ago in 1922, but it wasn't until much more recently that we began to acquire actually accurate details about it. The name of the mountain means White Peak of the Three Spiritual Brothers, which becomes an important part of why this mountain remains unclimbed. In 1983, the mountain became open for mountaineering, but between 1985 and 1986, there were 4 separate expeditions who tried to summit it and failed. Part of the reason why these expeditions failed were because there were disputes on the location and there was just inaccurate information, so the first group who tried to summit it couldn't even find the mountain at all. In 1994, the climbing of mountains in Bhutan higher than 6,000 meters became prohibited due to spiritual beliefs, and in 2003, mountaineering became prohibited entirely. This is why the mountain remains unsummited, and while I'm sure it would be an amazing expedition for climbers, who knows what is going on up there in terms of ecology due to it being left alone. In our number 8 spot today, we have the ancient seabed. A seabed that was once located at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean was found buried hundreds of miles beneath China. This slab of rock once found its home at the top of the lithosphere, which is the outermost layer of the Earth. How did it get hundreds of miles below China? Well, it got pushed down by a neighboring tectonic plate in what is called a subduction event. This discovery was so notable because scientists had never detected a subduction event so deep within the surface of the planet. When they found this rock slab, it was still continuing its descent towards the mantle of the Earth. I wonder if one day it will come back to the surface again. In our number 7 spot today, we have a gibbon skull. Gibbons are a type of ape that are often characterized by their swinging ability coupled with their loud, bright calls, and the 8th century Chinese poet Li Bai described their voices as they swung past the Yangtze River. But here's
I got it.
Today, there are no gibbons that live anywhere near the river. Also, the gibbons that exist now have different fur patterns from the ones that are often depicted in classical Chinese paintings. This has led experts to believe that there must have been another kind of gibbon that has now vanished, and physical evidence of this gibbon might have turned up in the most unexpected place: a tomb. This tomb, which was built for the grandmother of the first emperor of China nearly 2,300 years ago, contained a skull and a jawbone so distinct that scientists believed they must have belonged to a member of this now extinct gibbon genus. Many surviving gibbon species are now facing extinction, so it is likely that there were others in the past who unfortunately faced the same kind of fate. In our number 6 spot today, we have the green gel. This is a discovery that was made by the U-22 rover, which is currently exploring our wonderful moon. On Lunar Day 8 last year, which began on July 25th, the rover was doing its thing, finding its way through an area that was filled with a bunch of small impact craters. On July 28th, as the team here on Earth was preparing to power down the rover for its little midday nap, which is meant to protect the machine from high temperatures and radiation from the sun, one member of the team was checking over some images that were taken by the rover's main camera, and they spotted a small crater that seemed like it contained some sort of material that had a color and a sort of luster that was significantly different from the lunar area surrounding it. The team then changed the plans they had for the rover and decided that instead of going west, which was next on the schedule, they would instead take a little detour to check out this mystery material.
Here we got all the points.
The rover carefully made its way over to the crater and examined it with both its visible and near-infrared spectrometer, which is a thing that detects lights that are scattered or reflected off of a material, which helps to reveal what they're made up of.
That's pure.
Exactly what the substance was, and it was only being described as being gel-like and being a weird color, but after almost a year of more research, it was finally identified. It's rock. More specifically, rock that was melted together, most likely in the heat of impact from a meteorite.
I'm sorry, I've had to go with what I know and what I
I'm just glad that this is one mystery that we got to the bottom of. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Bowie Desert structure. This is one discovery that had conspiracy theorists' minds absolutely swirling. About a decade ago, someone was searching through some Google Maps images when they found a mysterious array of structures and patterns that appeared to be etched
That's
into the
diary
surface
from
of
year
Bowie Desert,
4.
which is, of course,
Diary from year 4.
The structures are reminiscent of geoliths, but they're seemingly much more modern and newly created. The speculation of what this structure could be or why it was created went wild, with people saying that they were street maps of American cities or messages either to or from some sort of extraterrestrials. The list of bizarre theories just goes on. While this is still sort of conspiracy sounding, this is likely the most reasonable explanation for what these structures are, and that is that these structures are used to help calibrate China's spy and radar satellites. To be fair, this does make a lot of sense, and I don't have any other ideas on what it could be for. So, in our number 4 spot today, we have the droughts. Ancient drawings and writings were found covering the walls of the Dayu Cave, which is located in central China, and a lot of them detail different droughts and such that were experienced during their time of their writing. According to these drawings, people would come to the cave for either water or to pray for rain in times of drought. The writings reveal some of the horrors that the people of the time experienced while going through these periods of drought, including severe starvation, social instability, and conflict between government and citizens. While these cave writings show us a difficult time in history, researchers say that the stalagmites that were also found in the cave might show a grim prediction for the future. Since these are formed by dripping water and they form sort of rings, like how trees do, and these rings can give us insights into different things. Based on the patterns of these rings, scientists were able to corroborate the things that the cave writings were saying, but they were also able to make a grim prediction for the future, which is that unfortunately the region may again see one of these catastrophic droughts, this time in the late 2030s. In our number 3 spot today, we have the ruins. Taking over our number 3 spot today, we have the most recent discovery on this list. While archaeologists were digging at one of the most important archaeological sites in China just earlier this year, they found a bronze altar as well as a dragon with a pig's nose, among many other things, in a couple of the sacrificial pits that are seen at this site. In fact, they said the findings were made in sacrificial pits 7 and 8, to which I have to ask, how many are there? Another highlight of the new finds was a bronze box with a tortoise-shaped lid. Inside, this box contained jade artifacts, and even traces of silk fabric were found around it. These finds are so astonishing because every little piece gives us so much insight into the buried secrets of the ancient Chinese civilization. In our number 2 spot today, we have an ancient mystery. While excavating a tomb in China, the team discovered the skeleton of a young man that was riddled with wounds, giving clues as to how he died. The man is estimated to have been about 25 years old at the time of his death, and it is thought that he was harmed and then thrown into the Tomb Raider's shaft while still alive, which is absolutely gruesome. It is believed that this crime took place between 640 and 680 AD. It appears as though he wasn't a thief because the shaft had begun to be refilled with soil by the time of his death, so we really aren't sure why this young man met this cruel fate. As a true crime enthusiast myself, this is absolutely fascinating, and I wish we could find some answers to bring this guy's story full circle. But sometimes these things are just destined to stay a secret. In our number 1 spot today, we have the palace. Archaeologists and researchers were certainly baffled a few years ago when they were digging beneath the foundation of the Lifang Pagoda, which sits on Lifang Mountain. Well, digging isn't exactly the right word. To be honest, there was a huge stone or boulder that weighed over 1,500 pounds that was lifted away, which then revealed a stone tablet. Once this tablet was lifted, it revealed a huge underground palace. Inside this palace, researchers found many hidden treasures that included a Buddhist statue, bronze mirrors, coins, and there was also a rusty iron case that was found during the initial discovery, which researchers believe held many relics.
You can't take the controller with you.
On top of this hidden palace was first completed in 976 AD, so it is thought that this area remained untouched from at least then until its modern discovery.
Number 10, Dragon of Death. We all know that millions of years ago, dinosaurs roamed the earth before they became extinct. Scientists are constantly working to put together the fossils and remains that they have found and discover new species. One of the ones that was discovered recently has been described as the Dragon of Death. It was a flying reptile like a pterodactyl that is described.
Give the next level of nerds a spin. Nerds Gummy Clusters. Shake things up.
Described as having been the size of a bus. Fully extended, its wings measured 30 feet from one tip to the other, and they were apparently as tall as giraffes. The leader on the project said that its size defies the limits of our biological understanding. The remains were discovered in the mountains of Argentina, and the specimen is apparently around